different regalia. And the third one was allegations that the UPND cadres had been preparing violence on civil servants and government officials. And after that, the statement, the House considered questions for oral answer. That was question number 215 and 216 under Standing Order 74. And then there were some bills that were considered at a second reading stage, and this was the National Pension Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 1 of 2023, and there was also the Controlled Substance Bill, National Assembly Bill number 2 of 2023, and also the Teaching Profession Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 4 of 2023, that was also considered at a second reading stage. Then the last bill that was considered in committee was the Rural Electrification National Assembly Bill number 5 of 2023, and was also considered in a second reading. And the House adjourned at 1924, and this was due to a lack of quorum. And just now we have a look at what is going to be discussed on the floor of the House, which is today, Thursday, 23rd March 2023. Business of the House is expected to start at 14:30 hours, and in total we have one question that will be considered under Standing Order 76, and we have 5 questions to be considered under Standing Order 74, and one motion is coming up, and also 2 bills to be considered at a committee stage. And now the details of what is contained on the order paper. We have question number 217 coming from Chinsali Member of Parliament, Mr. Kalalwe Mukosa, and he wants to find out from the Minister, from Her Honor the Vice President, whether the government is aware that the following bridges in Chinsali parliamentary constituency have become unusable due to the heavy rains, thereby making connectivity impossible. And these are Chivesa in Lubwa Ward and Minsonta in Chambeshi Ward. And what measures are being taken to restore connectivity in the constituency? And questions to be considered under Standing Order 74. We have question number 218, and this is coming from Chama North Member of Parliament, Mr. Yotam Chalo. He wants to find out from the Minister of Mines and Minerals Development whether government is aware that the presence of gypsum and other minerals in Chama, and he also wants to know, if so, what measures the government is taking to prevent illegal mining activities in the district, and what measures the government is taking to commence legal mining to boost economic activities in the district. And we also have a question coming from Magoye Member of Parliament, Mr. Malambo. He wants to find out from the Minister of Mines and Fisheries whether government has any plans to construct deep tanks in Magoye district. And just now we cross over to the floor of the House for live parliamentary debates. Good afternoon.
Almighty God, who in your infinite wisdom and providential goodness has appointed the offices of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of the people. We beseech you to consider with your abundant favor us, your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of such important responsibilities in this land. Let your blessings descend upon us here in Parliament assembled, and grant that we may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country and of those whose interests you have committed to our charge. Amen. We can go straight to matters of urgent public importance, keeping in mind the guide. Let's not bring constituency-based issues. I think we were properly guided, because constituency-based issues, most of them are supposed to fall under urgent questions. Moreover, if there is an urgent situation in your constituency, surely we can't wait for a ministerial statement, and next week on Friday will be our last day. So let's please use the avenues properly so that we are attended to as soon as possible. We'll start with the Honorable Member for Petauke.
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving the good people of Petauke this opportunity to raise the matter of urgent public importance, Madam Speaker, under Standing Order 134. And Madam Speaker, first I want to wish our football team all the best as they are playing today against the soccer and Lesotho. Lesotho. And also not forgetting to wish myself, on behalf of the good people of Petauke, happy birthday to Honorable J.J. Banda. Madam Speaker, the matter is directed to the Minister of Youth. The Minister of Youth. Madam Speaker, in Petauke, we woke up on the root of shock. In English, we say root shock. Madam Speaker, it's not only Petauke. Yesterday, Kamwala was affected. And in Kamwala, and the Copper Belt was affected. Sorowezi was affected. Madam Speaker, the youths in our country, because of youth unemployment to those who are not educated, the youths, crime rate is going high. In Petauke, you are saying, wait until your house is robbed. That's when you are going to understand.
Honorable Member for Petauke, you are addressing that matter to me, not to the other honorable member, because they are not supposed to debate while seated. So can you please just focus on your matter of urgent public importance to me? You can proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for your guidance. I'm sure they have... Oh, Madam Speaker, sorry. Uh, the problem you're disturbing me, but you have got your constituencies. Madam Speaker, in Petauke, some houses were robbed by the so-called junks. And even at night, Madam Speaker, if you're coming from work, it's no longer safe in all urban areas, Madam Speaker, in our country. Yesterday, in Kamwala, you can imagine, they even wanted to lobby the businessmen and the people who are amongst those robbers. It is a police officer by the name of Kennedy Mwange from Central Province, Kawe, and Central Division Operation. You can imagine now, if a civil servant is joining these criminals, who is getting even salaries, what about those youths who doesn't have jobs? What are they going to do, Madam Speaker? In our country right now, we are no longer safe even moving at night, even sleeping. You need to sleep whilst you have got a panga on the pillow, Madam Speaker, because anytime you can be robbed. So, Madam Speaker, we are no longer safe. We can lose lives anytime. So, is the Minister of Youth in order not to address, no, it's the youths. The Minister of Youth, in order not to address the unemployment of those youths who are not educated, because once they have got something to do, the country will be at peace, Madam Speaker. There will be no these junks, called junks, because right now they are called junks because they don't have jobs, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, because of that, we are even scared to move at night, and we seek your indulgence. I know some other member who are raising point of order.
You are now debating. We've heard the matter. Thank you. Thank you. There is an indication for a point of order by the Honorable Minister for Central Province.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for allowing me this chance to raise a point of order. As you are aware, Madam Speaker, I don't rise on points of order anyhow. Madam Speaker, my point of order is on standing order number 65, and is directed to the Honorable Member of Parliament from Kana. Madam Speaker, here in the paper, which I'm going to lay on the table, it is reported that the Honorable Member of Parliament from Kana, Mr. Mpundu, is reported to have said that the Sujilite, which was intercepted in Central Province, has vanished. Madam Speaker, this asset has been in Central Province from the time it was intercepted, and it has been kept in Central Province.
Order, honorable members, can we give him chance? The honorable member from Kana, can we please be attentive?
But is it you to direct what's supposed to be done?
Can we be orderly? I've just given an opportunity to the Minister for Central Province to come up with, to raise his point of order, but we are receiving interjections even before I can hear what he wants to talk about. So can we please listen, and then I'm going to make a ruling. The Honorable Minister of Central Province, you may continue.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we have been receiving reports that there are a lot of people who have been agitating to take away this alleged stolen item of government. Therefore, Madam Speaker, this product has been under the custody of Central Province and the police, where it has been kept safely, and it has been containerized and kept in Central Province at the Division Office. Therefore, Madam Speaker, for the Honorable Member of Parliament to allege that it has vanished, to bring this honorable government into disrepute, a majoritarian president and his government. Madam Speaker, this president who is there was elected unprecedented with the majority vote. Therefore, Madam Speaker, is the Honorable Member of Parliament for Nkana in order to mislead the nation and alarm the nation to make the people of this country to rise against the government for being irresponsible? Is it in order, Madam Speaker? I need a serious ruling. Thank you. And I'm laying this on the table.
Order, honorable members. When we are raising a point of order, we are looking at the breach that has been committed as we make progress or proceedings in this House. However, the Honorable Minister for Central Province will find another way of bringing that matter to the House, because it's not a matter of a breach that has been committed in the House as at now. Thank you.
Point of order.
Order. We have to make progress. The Honorable Minister of Water Development and Sanitation, is it a point of order on the member who was on the floor?
Yes, Madam Speaker.
You can proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity. Madam Speaker, I rise on a point of order in line with the Standing Order number 65 to do with the content of speech. Madam Speaker, is the Member of Parliament for Petauke in order to be mentioning names of people who don't have the privilege to sit in this House and who at this moment are not in a position to defend themselves, and thereby abusing his privilege to bring the names of these people to the nation and bring this information which we don't know whether truly the individual in question was involved in the criminal activities. Madam Speaker, we know that as responsible citizens, when you come across a criminal activity, the police, the institution under Home Affairs, the police is open 24 hours. And this Member of Parliament, Madam Speaker, when he was the Provincial Youth Chairman of PF, was free to go to Central Police, including our Central Police here, for various activities. Why didn't he report this criminal activity? Is he in order? Madam Speaker, is he in order to scandalize innocent citizens without taking responsible actions to report them to the police? I seek your ruling, Madam Speaker.
Thank you so much for that point of order. According to Standing Order number 65, 2F, we shall not make reference to a person who is not able to defend himself or herself in the House. I think that we all know we are not supposed to debate ourselves, and then we are not supposed to mention names of people who cannot come here to the House and defend themselves. The best way maybe the Honorable Member for Petauke would have brought it up is just to say a certain policeman or something like that, without necessarily mentioning the name, because that person you've mentioned, we don't know whether he's the true person who was caught yesterday. He cannot even come here to say, no, it wasn't me. So let's avoid bringing in people who cannot defend themselves. So the Honorable Member for Petauke was actually out of order. We make progress. This is time for matters of urgent public importance. Now it's like we have gone on to make a lot of points of order. What is your point of order, Honorable Member for Nkana?
Madam Speaker,
Standing Order 202 relates or refers to privileges of members of parliament, and on 2.4, a member who alleges that his or her privileges was being denied, as soon as the alleged denial occurs, may raise a point of order. I stand to raise a point of order, and I've been hesitant to raise this matter, Madam Speaker, but I'm compelled to do so now. In this House, Madam Speaker, the presiding officer is the only one mandated to run or conduct business or otherwise preside over the affairs of this House, including to give an opportunity to any one of us to speak or otherwise not to speak. There's been of late a tendency where your officers, Madam Speaker, in charge of IT, will curtail members from speaking before you determine so. They would either switch off your mic before you even direct so. Madam Speaker, this trend, if not addressed, can set this House into trouble. Not only are members of this House being curtailed by way of the mics being switched off before you direct so, the other day, during the time of point of orders, or rather matters of urgent public importance, these mics were jammed. Madam Speaker, you are the only one mandated or given the powers to decide who should speak, when, and when to stop. Are your officers in order to begin to usurp your powers? Are they in order to usurp your powers, the powers we've given you and by the Constitution, to begin to dictate who should speak and when they should speak? I seek your indulgence, Madam Speaker.
Order, honorable members. My ruling is that the honorable member Fonkana, that is an administrative issue, that you can come to the office of the Speaker so that we can sort out that issue in a better way. Order, we make progress. The honorable member for Nyimba.
Madam Speaker, thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to raise a matter of public importance.
Order, honorable members. Order. Order, honorable members. I think we are becoming unruly. Honestly speaking, honorable members, like I guided, we are not supposed to debate while seated. Let's avoid running commentaries that are provocative. Because once you raise something this side, it goes that side, it will raise the temper this side. And it will come back this side. In the end, it's a vicious circle of exchanging of words. Let us avoid that. The honorable member Fonkana is to everybody in this House. The honorable member for Nyimba.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, my matter of public importance goes to the Minister of Energy, or the acting. If the acting is not in the House, goes to the Vice President, the leader of the House. Madam Speaker, I appreciate, and it's a good thing that Indeni has started filing, and a good number of people are back at work. And I wish that can continue so that people in Indora can have some decent meals at the end of the day. Now, my question is, we are processing today diesel at Indeni, and my fear is, because government has not clarified, or they haven't communicated to the Zambian people of the quality of diesel we are producing at Indeni. Madam Speaker, today all our engines, they are running on diesel PP50. And the diesel which Indian used to produce was high sulfur diesel. We are managing our trucks, our vehicles with a low sulfur diesel at the moment. And the question is, if the diesel coming from Indian is not low sulfur, where are we going to use this diesel? Because it's going to be a sabotage to different machines. Madam Speaker, I seek your indulgence on this case. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Itesteji.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. My matter of public urgent importance goes to the Minister of Health and also partly to the Minister of Local Government. Madam Speaker, just yesterday in this House, we were debating on a bill to control substance abuse by the young people out there. Now, sadly, Madam Speaker, at the two learning institutions in Zambia, National Institute of Public Administration and Ivory Horn, these are two reputable institutions. Just outside the gates of these two institutions, Madam Speaker, there is an emergence of shabins. There is an open selling of what resembles beer. When I was investigating this matter, Madam Speaker, I learned that there are people that are now selling beer at 20 kwacha, and this resemblance of beer, I'm told, is a concoction of boars. A bit of cachasu is mixed there. I'm told there is also some first choice is also mixed in that concoction, and it's being sold at 20 kwacha from 6 hours up to 24 hours, right at the doorsteps of the two learning institutions. The alcohol content of this resemblance of beer, we don't know it. Madam Speaker, our children are now at risk at these two learning institutions. I seek your guidance, because this beer is being sold at undesignated places, and we don't know the content of this concoction, which is being made available to our children who are in these two learning institutions. Thank you so much.
The Honorable Member for Kasenengwa.
Madam Speaker, the opportunity given to the people of Kasenengwa to raise on a matter of urgent public importance is profoundly appreciated. Madam Speaker, my matter is directed to the Minister of Health. And Madam Speaker, this refers to NIMA, the National Health Insurance Management Authority. Madam Speaker, before I explain this matter, I want to read out a few functions of NIMA. One, it says to ensure that every Zambian has access to good health care services. Everyone. To protect families from the financial hardships of huge medical bills. Another one says to limit the rise in the cost of health care services, to ensure equitable distribution of health care costs among different income groups, to maintain high standards of health care delivery services within the scheme, to ensure efficiency health care services, to improve and enhance private sector participation in the provision of health care services. And the last one, I will not go further, it says, to ensure equitable distribution of health facilities between rural and urban communities. Madam Speaker, it appears NIMA has departed from its objectives. Today, our people, when they go to these healthcare providers, they are not attended to expectation. why the lamentations are that NIMA either does not pay them or does not pay on time. Now, how are our people, Madam Speaker, going to benefit from what NIMA has outlined here if people are denied the services in the healthcare providers due to the inefficiency of NIMA to make payments on time? I've had people, Madam Speaker, who got a very good example is one who went to a clinic last week and was told your beneficiaries are not appearing on your scheme. After probing further, the lady was told, no, actually, I'm trying to avoid attending to you because NIMA doesn't pay us. And yet NIMA says they want to provide equitable services to every citizen of this country. And that person is not the only one. I've had so many cases in Kasenengo, so many cases here in Osaka. It's countrywide. Madam Speaker, is the Minister of Health in order to sit quietly while NIMA, which is collecting money from hard-working Zambians every month, is disadvantaging Zambians in such a manner, depriving them of the much-needed medical services while people are paying? Madam Speaker, I need your serious guidance. Thank you.
Thank you. The last one is the Honorable Member for Kankoyo.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for giving me this rare opportunity to raise the matter of public importance. Urgent public importance. Madam Speaker, when we were in Dora on Monday with the Minister of Energy, the people on the Copper Belt were very happy, and they are still celebrating to see Ndeni coming back to life. However, due to the fact that the current stock Ndeni is processing was the dead stock in the Tazama pipeline, which is being processed so that it can be cleared off. So the people on the Copper Belt, they are not sure what will happen to Ndeni afterwards. Is Ndeni going to produce some processed crude oil, or then is going to become a blender of ethanol and diesel? So the question I want to find out, Madam Speaker, is when is the Minister of Energy going to give a clear roadmap on what is going to happen to Ndeni after the current crude stock is processed? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you so much. I think I'll start with the Honorable Member for Kankoyo, who was asked to say when is the Minister of Energy going to give a clear roadmap. Honorable Member for Kankoyo, this is not an urgent issue. It's not admissible under this standing order. There is no catastrophe that will come if this is not attended to. However, Honorable Member, you can raise a question so that we all know and the people know. But it does not qualify under this standing order. It's not an urgent issue. Nobody will die because of this or of not having a roadmap. No catastrophe will be seen. The Honorable Member for Petauke talked about the crime, increased crime in the country. He mentioned Petauke, Kamwala, Kitwe, and he cited an example of some people that were arrested yesterday in Kamwala, and he attributed this to unemployment, and he had directed his matter to the Ministry of Youth and Sport. Again, this matter does not qualify, Honorable Member for Petauke. Kindly find another method of raising this matter so that it can be attended to, whether it's the crime that you are talking about, which is the biggest problem, or unemployment. So please just find another way, or maybe an ordinary question, so that that issue can get attention from the two ministers. honorable member for Nyimba. He also talked about Indeni, that it has started operating, which is a good thing. But he wanted the government to come and explain the quality of the diesel, because we have low sulfur diesel and the ordinary diesel. What will happen, or what is the position? Again, this is not an urgent matter of public importance. Understanding Order 134, you can use another avenue, honorable member for Nyimba, so that it can be attended to by the Honorable Minister of Energy. The Honorable Member for Iteshteji raised an issue to the Honorable Minister of Health, where he mentioned to say yesterday we were looking at a bill that looked at controlling substance use. He talked of shabins, where there is a type of alcohol that is being manufactured by some people, where they add a lot of ingredients that are harmful. Again, the Honorable Member for Iteshteji, please raise an urgent question so that the Minister of Health can come and address this issue. It does not fall under Standing Order 134 and 135, since it's just found at 2 places. It's not countrywide. The Honorable Member for Kasenengwa was complaining about NIMA, that it has not been very effective. Payments are delayed, and because of this, a lot of people are not being helped, or they are denied services from the health facilities. Is the Honorable Minister of Health around? No. Again, the Honorable Member for Kasenengwa, this question is very important. It might not be happening only in your constituency. So please, can you come up with an urgent question, understanding Order 76, so that it can be attended to as soon as possible, instead of waiting for a ministerial statement. We are closing on Friday, but this issue has to be attended before Friday, maybe Tuesday or Wednesday. Thank you so much. Let's make progress. Questions for oral answer, understanding Order number 76. The Honorable Member for Chinsali.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question number 217.
Thank you, Her Honor the Vice President.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Honorable Member for Chinsali has asked whether, in A, whether the government is aware that the following bridges in Chinsali parliamentary constituents have become unusable due to heavy rains, thereby making connectivity impossible. In A1, Chivesa in Iluwa Ward, and A2, Misonta in Chambeshu Ward. In B, he asks what urgent measures are being taken to restore connectivity in the constituents. In response, Madam Speaker, in A, the government is aware. In 1A, Chivesa Bridge in Iluwa Ward of Chinsali parliamentary constituents gets flooded whenever rainfall is above average and currently the culverts have become weakened due to soil erosion, causing the bridge to be eroded on both sides. In A2, Misonta Bridge in Chambeshu Ward is in a deplorable state and has been eroded due to heavy rains. B, the following are the immediate measures to restore connectivity in the constituents in both wards. One, the DMMU regional office requested for 4 boats, which the national office has since dispatched to Chinsali for use by the affected wards. In fact, Madam, this should be arriving now, if not already. 2, further, the House may wish to know that both bridges are earmarked for rehabilitation by the Road Development Agency, RDA, using funding from World Bank. And the contractor is already in the province and ready to commence the works once the rains reduce. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you. Supplementary questions? The Honorable Member for Chinsali.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you so much, Your Honor, the Vice President, for the feedback, and thank you for the interventions that intervention that is being made by DMMU. Her Honor, the Vice President, would just like to find out the period within which we expect the works that the DMMU is going to do is going to take, as in the time when the DMMU is likely to take to work on these 2 bridges that have made it impossible for people coming from across to get to the other side. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Her Honor, the Vice President.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The time frame, maybe I should mention that the contractors on site, which the Honorable Member may already know, M&N Industrial Merchants Limited, who are already basically on site. And these works have been given 12 months period. That includes the road and the bridges. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Mukushi South.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Your Honor, the Vice President, you've indicated that those 2 bridges are sponsored by the World Bank. Would you kindly share with us how much would be the cost of those 2 bridges? Thank you.
Her Honor, the Vice President.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Maybe I should say the whole contract, which is one, it comes to 143.8 million kwacha. That includes the road and the bridges.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Chinsali.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Her Honor, the Vice President, regarding the time frame that I was asking about, I didn't mean the time frame that the substantive contractor will take to work on the road and to do the bridges. That one, that's the one which will take about a year. But the one I'm asking for is the interventions that DMMU is making, because what is happening currently is that people are coming from Cheswa. They are failing to reach the Boma because there is the bridge is impassable. The other day, what happened? There is a person who died in Cheswa and a pregnant woman who died in Cheswa. So now, when we sent the medical officers from the Boma to go and conduct the procedures before they could bury, they failed to cross, so they had to go back to the Boma. So now, what I'm asking is the period it is going to take so that we restore connectivity. That is before the contractor commences the substantive works. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Her Honor, the Vice President.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. the plan on the table is, like I've said, in the immediate, because we know one of the bridges has both a school and a health facility. It is busier than the other one. But for both of them, we are giving current now, today. In fact, I thought they should have arrived yesterday. The 2 boats for each are provided so that people can continue to move. There will be need for the regional office, which is in Chinsali, to do assessment. They are going to the site to do assessment. But when there is water, it's not easy for them to do assessment. But the current, the boards must be in Chinsali today. Thank you.
Thank you. We make progress. Questions for oral answer under Standing Order 74. The Honorable Member for Chama North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question number 218.
The Honorable Minister of Mines and Minerals Development.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. The Honorable Member for Chama North, Honorable Mtaya Chalo, asks the Minister of Mines whether the government is aware of the presence of gypsum and other minerals in Choma district, and if so, whether the measures the government is taking to prevent illegal mining activities in the district, and what measures the government is taking to commence approved mining to boost economic activities in the district. Madam Speaker, question number A, government through the Ministry of Mines and Minerals Development Geological Survey Department is aware of the presence of gypsum and has since documented the presence of gypsum and other minerals in Choma district.
It's Chama, Honorable Minister.
In Chama district. The minerals have been documented through routine exploration work, geological mapping, and inspections on existing mining rights. The government, through the ministry, conducts regular monitoring, that is answer to B, conducts regular monitoring and inspections on mining rights, thereby ensuring that illegal mining activities are brought under control in the district and elsewhere in the country. Additionally, most parts of Chama district are covered by mining rights, and as such, it is also the responsibility of the license holder to secure their mining right areas from illegal mining in line with Section 35, subsection 1 of the Mines and Minerals Development Act number 11 of 2015. C, the Ministry of Mines and Minerals Development has granted several mining rights for various minerals, including gypsum in Chama district, and exploration is at various stages. However, mining will only commence when there is a discovery of minerals amenable for mining, with feasibility studies conducted and finalized. The ministry is also scaling up monitoring and inspection of mining rights to ensure compliance. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Supplementary questions? The Honorable Member for Chama North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Minister, for that response. Indeed, Chama has one of the best gypsum deposits in this country. Currently, Minister, we have got an indigenous company called Chama Minerals Limited. They have got a license there, but they have been having challenges in terms of operational challenges. Is your government considering promoting private investment so that maybe they can partner up with the local company there so that we provide jobs for our local people.
The Honorable Minister of Mines and Minerals Development.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member Mtachalo. Yes, indeed, the government, Madam Speaker, has been encouraging our local people who may not have the capacity to partner with those that may have the capacity. It could be foreign or local investors who could partner with our people. The only thing is that we are emphasizing that it has to be a win-win situation so that both the investor and the local and the license holders actually benefit. And this government, Madam Speaker, is saying, when you get a license and you have no capacity, please don't sell your license. Make sure you find people with the capacity so that you partner, so that we create billionaires right here in Zambia. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Leader of Opposition.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, in your response, you mentioned that these mining companies are given a chance to look for partners, to help improve capacity. Now, in the spirit of positive discrimination, is your ministry working with other government ministries, including small and medium enterprises, to try and enhance citizen participation in mining?
The Honorable Minister of Mines and Minerals Development.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and I thank you, Leader of Opposition, Honorable Munduvile, for that question. Actually, the question has come at the right time, because as you saw me talking to the Minister of Small and Medium Enterprise, I was actually, Madam Speaker, trying to find out whether there's been movement in his ministry, because we are collaborating and there's been a delay here and there, so that the Zambian-based cooperatives can now be formalized. Apart from areas like gypsum, we are doing that in gold, in manganese, and we are emphasizing the very points that you've raised, Honorable Member, of positive discrimination. So we are actually collaborating to achieve that. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Chitambo.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much. Minister, just to clarify, because when you started reading out the answer, you mentioned Choma. I just wanted clarity from you whether the answer you've given the House is for Choma and not Chama, because we might be misleading the House and the people of Chama. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Mines and Minerals Development.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I think, Madam Speaker, you even corrected me that it's Chama, not Choma. So it's actually Chama, Honorable Member. Thank you very much.
The Honorable Member for Kantanshi.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, gypsum that we are talking about is one of the major components we use to produce cement, which is escalating in price. And we thank God that we have all these minerals in this country, which can actually support our economy positively. Now, I've heard you talk about collaborating with the Ministry of SME. I need to have an understanding. Are you in any way suggesting the resources available from Ministry of SME can support a particular cooperative to grow a mining company and add the value we're looking for, the taxes we're looking for, the jobs we're looking for, from that resource envelope that the Ministry of SME has? I want a clear understanding, because I thought that mining is a serious business long term, which requires a lot of investment before you could even create a win-win situation. I just need a pure clarity on that one. Thank you.
Okay. The Honorable Minister of Mines and Minerals Development.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much. I want to take advantage and thank you very much, Honorable Member for Kantanshi, for that question. Madam Speaker, I'll veer off a little bit to answer his question broadly. We are grappling with illegal mining. One of the reasons, Madam Speaker, we are grappling with illegal mining is lack of structures in place. Now, working with the Ministry of SME is actually to look at how many cooperatives, because the Ministry of Mines is not an expert in forming these cooperatives. The expert is in the Ministry of SME. So why we are collaborating with them is to give us these structures. Now the ministry has a program, Madam Speaker, to empower the cooperatives, to empower them with equipment, with machines, and also teach them safe mining. But for us to do that, we need now the SME ministry, Madam Speaker, to now give us these structures so that we support the cooperatives to go into mining. Now, when a cooperative, Honorable Member and Madam Speaker, is formed, it does not mean that those members of the cooperatives are the ones that are going to be mining. They have formed the cooperative, in inverted commas, that's a company, then they will employ people. They themselves will be working, but also other people will be with them. At the same time, through the Ministry of SME, Madam Speaker, we have CEC loans, and they are actually readily available to support the purchase of various equipment that will support small-scale and artisanal miners. Our program, Madam Speaker, is to promote these small-scale and artisanal miners, to promote them to become junior miners into large-scale miners. And that is the program that we have as a ministry. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Chama North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Minister. Minister, according to the information which is available, I said that gypsum in Chama is one of the best in this country. I think the purity percentage is between 87 to 95%. I think through your engagements with investors, because I know that it is a huge challenge even for the cooperatives, because they will need excavator and so many equipments are needed. In your engagement with these mining investors, do you have specific investors who may have interest to invest in the gypsum so that they can partner up with our people in Chama?
The Honorable Minister of Mines and Minerals Development.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I think, Honorable Member, since these license holders, you have raised the issue of capacity, I would advise that you visit our ministry. We can discuss, we can call them and see how we can link them up to those that are interested. There are so many actually. The appetite to invest in Zambia has skyrocketed. So I think visit our ministry, we can be able to link those people up. I'm alive to the importance of gypsum, actually even in helping reduce the cost of cement. So probably you visit us, then we'll be able to link them up to those that are interested to invest with them. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Kabwe Central.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity to ask a follow-up question to the Minister. Minister, gypsum from Chama is very, also is used for making fertilizer. And before this House, we heard the way the Member of Parliament has lamented for the issues to do with fertilizer, meaning that if this company had utilized these mineral resources to make fertilizer, the people of Chama was not going to be complaining of fertilizer before this House. So now, since this company has failed, do you have any plans to cancel this license so that you can give the company that can start producing fertilizer in Chama? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Mines and Minerals Development.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Member for Kabwe Central, for that important question. Madam Speaker, cancelling a license has a procedure. So if it is discovered that there are abrogations on that license, then the due process will be followed. I want the Honorable MP to get comfort, Madam Speaker, that we are profiling every other mineral that has never been profiled in Zambia, because for us, we want to follow through, and that's why we are bringing the Minerals Commission, because that is a regulator that will check and make sure that every mineral resource in Zambia begins to benefit the country and not only illegal miners. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
I'll take the last two, the Honorable Member for Nyimba and the Honorable Member for Mbabala. In that order, the Honorable Member for Nyimba.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Minister hasn't disappointed me so far with the way he's answering. I hope, Minister, I won't disappoint your the way you are going to answer my question. Minister, I have a problem with the minerals we have across this country. And Minister, if you look at the number of licenses you have given in your ministry, to the speculators, people who don't mine, they only knew them when they know that in the next 3 months they are going to expire. And this has been happening in your mind, in your ministry. Minister, this is perpetual succession. So whatever has happened there before you took over the office, it is your ministry. So Minister, if you look at the way unemployment levels are in the rural parts of this country, don't you think, or do your ministry have any plans to empower or to fast-track the applications being done by the cooperatives? Because a good number of cooperatives out there, they will apply the licenses only to be overtaken by the Lusaka dwellers, the Lusaka so-called companies, or the politically right-connected people. Don't you think it would be very cardinal for us to start fast-tracking the cooperatives in the rural areas? Because I think I've been to office, and you know I'm still fighting for the people out there to get the artisans license. And entire Eastern Province, the entire Nyimba district is on license, and no one is mining. And no one is serious to go there and start mining. And the people knows where the minerals are, the artisans are not being given chance. Do you have plans to start fast-tracking the artisan licenses so that people, the cooperatives out there, they can start doing something so that we reduce dependence on government? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Mines and Minerals Development.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Member, for that question. Yes, indeed, it's perpetual succession. There were a lot of speculators we've taken over, but I want to assure you that as I'm speaking, Madam Speaker, I have a big bundle of a report of licenses that have been gotten back from speculators, and this process is ongoing. We are not going to allow people to get licenses, speculate, or sell them. What we want is for people that are serious, they go into mining. This has been a rigorous process, Madam Speaker, and not an easy one, but we are equal to the task to make sure that we clean up the system and we allow for only serious license holders. And this will be following up as a ministry, Madam Speaker, and that's why I keep emphasizing the regulator that we are putting in place as a ministry. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Mbabala.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for giving the good people of Mbabala an opportunity to ask a follow-up question. Hon Minister, is the ministry considering producing more information for other districts such as Choma on those existing licenses? For example, in my constituency, I just see small-scale mining activities going on in the Smaobi, Kabanza area and part of Mbabara area, and also Kavimba, without me really knowing whether these people have got licenses and what is going on in those areas. Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Mines and Minerals Development.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you very much, Honorable Member for Mbabala, for that question. Yes, indeed. Like I've always said, it hasn't been easy for a ministry that has first centrally located in Lusaka with very incapacitated bureaus that now they won't even be able to check. They have no vehicles. They are incapacitated. So what we need is to build capacity, starting from Lusaka right through to the provinces. And it is through, again, Madam Speaker, the Minerals Commission, which is a regulator, because they will be spread right across the country. They will be able to know, Honorable Member, if at all the miners that are mining in any particular place are legitimate miners or they are illegal miners. That will help us to check whether they are licensed or they are not licensed. So I think that for now, we suffer a little bit, but as we roll out this program, this issue will be checked and it will no longer be there. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Next question, the Honorable Member for Mukaika.
Madam Speaker, thank you so much. Question number 219 to the Minister of Local Government.
The Acting Minister of Local Government.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Mr. Peter Puri, Member of Parliament from Kaika Parliamentary Constituency, is asking the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development as follows. A, why the rehabilitation of the Chimtende-Lupande Road in Mkaika Parliamentary Constituency has stalled. B, when the project will resume. C, what the cost of the project is. And D, what the time frame for the completion of the project is. Madam Speaker, our response is as follows. A, works have stalled due to non-availability of funds as the contractor is still awaiting payment on the part of the works that have been certified. B, the project will resume as soon as government secures funds to finance the remaining works. C, the total cost of the project is 30,687,003.78. And D, the initial duration of the project was 1 year from April 2020 to April 2021. However, this could not be achieved due to funds not being available. The contractor therefore had applied for an extension. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Supplementary questions. The Honorable Member for Mukaika.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. And Minister, thank you so much for your response. This contract, Mr. Minister, is that don't disturb. Thank you so much. Okay, so this contract, Minister, was contracted, yes, in 2021. And there were some initial works that the contractor did on this road. And because of the same works that the contractor did, it made it disturbed the road, such that the road now is muddy because the excavator, you know, that such kind of works did temper on the road. And after that, the road stopped. And it has been a long time, almost a year. This is now 2023, that no works has been going on, as you have already said. Now, my worry is, look at the period, and also the road was tempered, and we cannot see any works on the road. Tell me, Minister, whether this road was terminated so that our people know, because sure, this is now a year, and you know, that road was tempered such that the movements on this road is very difficult for our people in the constituency. Now, let me know here if that contract was terminated so that we forget, as we have seen some roads have been terminated. So let me know through you so that we are aware and that they know, the people in the constituency know about this contract. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker.
The Acting Minister of Local Government and Rural Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to correct the Member of Parliament that the contract was not signed in 2021. I was very clear in my answer that the contract was initially signed in 2020. Then the status of the project is that the project expired and it has not been renewed due to limited funds. That is the status. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Vubwi. Order, honorable members, order.
Thank you so very
Let's not
much.
be excited about Vubwi. Let's give him chance. The honorable member, you can continue with your question.
Thank you so very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Minister, for the statement. I just want to find out, especially looking at the need which the people in Mukaika are having pertaining to this same contract. How soon do you think the ministry would come in to maybe intervene on the matter? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Acting Minister of Local Government and Rural Development.
Madam Speaker, I seek your indulgence. I didn't get the question quite clearly. There was quite a lot of noise.
I will allow the honorable member to repeat the question.
Thank you so very much once again, Madam Speaker. I just wanted to find out, looking on the need which the people in Mukaika are having in relation to this same contract, what is the ministry planning towards this same work in Mukaika? I thank you.
The Acting Minister of Local Government and Rural Development.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and I want to thank the Member of Parliament for Vubwi for that supplementary question. Madam Speaker, for now, there are no funds for this particular road, and like I stated earlier, the status is that the contract expired and it has not been renewed. As and when funds are available, I think that the situation could be revisited. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The honorable member for Mukaika.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Minister, my question is the contract terminated or not?
The Acting Minister of Local Government and Rural Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think I gave an answer to the current status of the project, that the project expired and it was not renewed. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The honorable member for Mandevu.
Madam Speaker, thank you. Allow me to wish the Chipolo Polo boys the best of luck as they take on Lesotho this evening. It is our sincere hope as the people of Mandevu that they will beat Lesotho 7-0, like Liverpool beat another team. I wish to find out from the Honorable Minister who is acting for local government. I note that from your answers that the contract has been terminated. However, I would like to find out on the works that were done in terms of the percentage of works that were done, and how much is owing to the contractor. I thank you so much.
Before the Acting Minister of Local Government and Rural Development responds, the voices are becoming louder. Can we please lower our voices? The Acting Minister of Local Government and Rural Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I want to thank the Member of Parliament for Mandevu constituency for that question. Madam Speaker, the contract was for 22 kilometers stretch, and I want to take advantage of that question to just respond that to give this information that 25% of progress was made. And like I said, the total sum of this contract was about 30.7 million kwacha. In terms of what is owing, this is the total sum, but in terms of what is owing, I don't have the figures, but I can check for him, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you. The last one, the Honorable Member for Kasenengwa.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Through you, Honorable Minister, could you confirm that government has no immediate plans, at least for this year, 2023, to work on that road in Mkaika so that the people of Mkaika should be well informed and not to trouble the MP? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Acting Minister of Local Government and Rural Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I want to thank my brother for that question. Madam Speaker, I wouldn't say outrightly that we have no plans for that road, because if money is found, there's a possibility that the decision could be revisited. What I've said is that the status of this contract is that the contract expired and it was not renewed. But in terms of the plans for that road and many other roads, as and when funds are available, it's possible that government would review the plans and work on some of these roads. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Next question, the Honorable Member for Magoye.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I appreciate the time given. Question number 220.
The Honorable Minister of Fisheries and Livestock.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. The Honorable Member for Magoye is asking the Ministry of Fisheries and Livestock a question in 4 parts. 1A, whether the government has any plans to construct deep tanks in Magoye parliamentary constituency. B, if so, how many deep tanks will be constructed in the constituency? C, when the plans will be implemented? And D, if there are no such plans, why? Madam Speaker, the House may wish to note that tick-borne diseases are categorized as management diseases that are responsibility of the farmer. However, due to the high cost of construction, government has from time to time intervened in the construction of deep tanks. Previously, the financing has been taken up by central government. The New Dawn government policy is now anchored on decentralization, which implies that communities will now determine their needs.
This will be achieved using the community project component of constituency development funds. I wish to inform the House that using this approach, communities in Iteji and Mbabala, among other communities, have constructed deep tanks. I therefore wish to call upon Member of Parliament to use this approach, which is more effective. And in B, as is stated in A above, the number of deep tanks to be constructed will now be determined by the needs of the communities. I am therefore not in position to determine the number of deep tanks for Magoye parliamentary constituents, as this now is the duty of our communities. And in C, as alluded in A above, plans of when to implement the construction of deep tanks are determined and driven by the communities. In D, as the plans will be implemented by the local communities, as outlined above, D falls off. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Magoye.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much for the answer as given by the Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, as we are aware that Magoye predominantly has a lot of cattle, and out of that you took time to appreciate what we have in Magoye when you visited, and you also brought in a component of insurance. And an insurer would like to have a situation where we have a good number of deep tanks to ensure that his investment does not go to waste. In as much as we can be able to utilize CDF resource, but the resource is not good enough for us to can be able to utilize it, and that's more reason why the people in Magoye thought of asking this question, so that your ministry, through yourselves and other facilities that might come from your ministry, we can be able to tanks. Now, Honorable Minister, my question, don't you have any resource in your ministry other than the CDF component that we have already that we can be able to utilize to increase the number of deep tanks, because we would want to protect these animals? Thank you, Honorable Minister.
The Honorable Minister of Fisheries and Livestock.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you very much, the Honorable Member for Magoye. Indeed, I appreciate what is happening in Magoye as far as livestock production is concerned. And as New Dawn administration, we are committed to make sure that disease challenges that are faced by our farmers are supported. First, Madam Speaker, this government is committed in supporting our farmers, one, by providing technical support in which we are supposed to help our communities in the way they are supposed to come up with these deep tanks. That's one of the support this government is committed to support our farmers. And, Madam Speaker, it has come to our knowledge that the programs that are driven centrally have proved to be a failure. As I'm talking now, Madam Speaker, Magoye constituency has almost 17 deep tanks, which were being driven by the central government in the previous regime. And all these deep tanks are not operational. Reason is that the communities are not involved. These things were just being driven from central government, and the participation of our communities was poor. Hence, the New Dawn government feels that programs that are to do with communities, our communities should be in forefront, and the government must just give support. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Kabwata.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, I know some people are surprised why Kawata is asking a question. I'm equally a farmer, and most of my animals actually I kept that side. My question is, Honorable Minister, I know you've stated that about 17 deep tanks were constructed in the previous regime. Would you be in a position to give us the cost of those deep tanks that were constructed? Is it the past 5 years or 6 years? Would you be in a position so that we know? Because the history is able to guide us to where we are going in future. Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Fisheries and Livestock.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you very much, Honorable Member of Kabwata, for that follow-up question. Madam Speaker, first of all, I want to encourage the Member of Parliament that this is where we are saying that what happened in the previous regime was a mess, because we have got a number of these deep tanks.
Order, Honorable Minister. There is an indication for a point of order. The Honorable Member for Shiwangandu, what is your point of order?
Madam Speaker, the point of order is on the Honorable Minister, who knows what language should be used in this August House. Is in order to use unparliamentary language, such as mess, when he has to, if he has got the imitation of vocabulary, he can always do better, but it is in order to use unparliamentary language. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Order, Honorable Member. The Honorable Minister, the word mercy, the way it was used, is provoking, and because of that, it becomes unparliamentary. Kindly withdraw that word and replace it with another better word. Thank you, and you may proceed to finish your response. The Honorable Minister of Fisheries and Livestock.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for that guidance. And I withdraw the word mercy and replace it that what was happening in the previous regime on the issues concerning construction of deep tanks, more especially in southern province, it was terrible. We have so many deep tanks that are unfinished or completed in southern province. So, Madam Speaker, coming back to the question for the Honorable Member of Parliament, we are in the process of coming up with a ministerial statement on the number of deep tanks that were not completed during the previous regime. So at that time, I'll be able to give specific amount which was spent on these deep tanks. I thank you.
The Honorable Member for Momba.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to ask the Minister of Livestock question. Honorable Minister, now that you have made it very clear that we need to use CDF to construct these dipping tanks, when are you going to give these members here, including myself, the structural design plans to ensure that all the dipping tanks are of standard. Because I hear that, for example, my colleague here from Nalikwanda, Honorable Simunji, is constructing already one dipping tank which is looking like a swimming pool. So when are you going to give us one standard dipping tank? Thank you.
Order. The Honorable Minister of Fisheries and Livestock.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you very much, Honorable Member, for that question. Madam Speaker, my ministry is in the process, as we are compiling the final report on the deep tanks. We are also coming up with the standard specs for a deep tank for our farmers. That's one way we are going to support our livestock farmers where disease control is concerned. The ministry is doing its best to come up with standard for deep tanks. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Kasenengwa.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Through you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, now that you have clearly and publicly washed your hands that you have nothing to do as a ministry on the construction of deep tanks, and you have referred it to CDF, and looking at the CDF guidelines for this year, they do not state a deep tank anywhere on the guidelines. How worried are you that your ministry has not been catered for, and what interventions are you going to make so that your ministry is well catered for? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Fisheries and Livestock.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I think when I was giving my answer here, I stated that from the component of community projects, that's where communities will be able to identify their needs. So the New Dawn administration has given powers to the people to choose what they want to do. There's no restriction how they are supposed to identify their needs. That one is just a speculation. Please use your community project component in constituency development fund. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for Kankoyo.
I thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, from the information I have from my relatives in Magoe, they say they cannot use those deep tanks because they're too big. When an animal goes in to be dipped, they turn and they find it difficult to coordinate. Then number two, they are constructed right in the communities where people are, so they become unusable. So I want to find out to the Minister of Agriculture, Minister of Fisheries and Livestock, what is the government going to do to those 17 swimming pools which were constructed by our friends, very incompetent in the previous government? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Fisheries and Livestock.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you very much, Honorable Member. Indeed, it's a very difficult situation for our farmers with what was provided for them. But this New Dawn government, provided by the previous regime, Madam Speaker.
Let's give chance to the Minister to respond in silence.
Madam Speaker, this is what I stated, that as government, we are committed to make sure that disease control is on top of our agenda. And how are we going to support our farmers? Is by providing the technical support to our farmers. That's what we are going to do. We will not allow our farmers, going into those trouble. Now, coming to what we are going to do with those deep tanks, which are in Magoe, the 17 ones. That's why I am waiting for comprehensive report over all deep tanks that are in Southern Province which are not functional. Our job now is to see which ones can be given some technical support to be completed, and which one we will just tell our people that these are not possible to be repaired. So it will depend on our experts' report that we are waiting to receive as a ministry. Then we will be able to guide our farmers. I thank you.
The Honorable Member for Magoye.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, I want to find out, in as much as we are trying to construct these deep tanks based on the community demand, the support from yourselves, you do vaccinate animals to protect them against diseases. This shows how committed the New Dawn government is. How much are you interested to impart knowledge to the community so that dipping of the animals becomes a day-to-day activity to ensure that the government budget is protected? I thank you, Honorable Minister.
The Honorable Minister of Fisheries and Livestock.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Thank you very much, Honorable Member for Magoye. Indeed, this government is committed to the livestock industry, especially Magoye in particular. We have got much interest to make sure that the industry there is supported and they become a role model to this country. The ministry has a number of programs that we have lined up in terms of communicating to our farmers. Not only on disease control, there are a number of best practices that we need to impart knowledge to our farmers in order to even increase the production. So, Madam Speaker, the ministry has got a number of programs that are lined up to make sure that we give capacity building to our farmers to understand the sector very well and do the right thing, other than just watching from terrace, to make sure that our farmers are really helped. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. We've got a lot of work. I'll take the last three. The Honorable Member for Musanzala, Mbavala, and Chipiri, in that order. The Honorable Member for Musanzala.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Through you, I just wanted to find out from the Minister of Livestock, now that he has discovered that the deep tank that were constructed in Magoye are not of the standard, what are you going to do with your technocrats who are still with you in your ministry? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Fisheries and Livestock.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you very much, Honorable Member. Indeed, the question is, what are we going to do with our technical people? Our technocrats
Order, Honorable Members. Order. Let's give the Honorable Minister space.
Madam Speaker, our technocrats are there to give technical knowledge. So what we are going to do is they will continue providing expert knowledge. That's the job of our experts. So that's what they are going to do. Otherwise, Madam Speaker, if you were to follow in details what transpired with the deep tanks, it's not the fault of our experts. It's the fault of bringing in politics. You see, there was a number of issues that are involved in coming out with this kind of substandard deep tanks which were started. So ours as New Dawn administration, we are going to make sure that we do the right thing to help our farmers. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member from Mbavala.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for again giving the good people of Mbabane an opportunity to ask a follow-up question. Honorable Minister, with your wonderful work in the ministry, are you considering, as part of your technical support to reviving the dipping program in Southern Province, giving a starter pack of some dip and also on the efficacy of the dip that is being used in the province? Are you considering giving a starter pack of the dip?
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Fisheries and Livestock.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you very much, Honorable Member, for that follow-up question. What we are going to do as a ministry is to provide support, because the kind of disease that I was just talking about, this is the responsibility of a farmer. So these are management diseases which are supposed to be tackled by the farmer. All what we are going to do as a ministry is to give the support that is needed for our farmers to do the right thing. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The last one, the Honorable Member for Chipiri.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, as your central government, through your ministry, how much money have you set aside to construct deep tanks? Because the CDF is already known, it's 28.3. How much have you put aside so that, as a central government, to help our people than CDF? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Fisheries and Livestock.
Madam Speaker, at the expense of repeating myself, there's no money which has been set aside by the central government to construct deep tanks. All what we are going to do is to give technical support to our farmers as a ministry. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Next question, the Honorable Member from Mbabane.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question number 221.
The Acting Minister of Energy.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much. And the Honorable Member for Mbabane, Honorable Musanje, is asking the Minister of Energy the following questions. A, whether the government has any plans to electrify the following upgraded secondary schools in Mbabane parliamentary constituency. 1, Mawea-Tuba. 2, Mangunza. 3, Smaubi. 4, Mbabane, and 5, Manda. B, if so, when the plans will be implemented. We answer as follows, Madam Speaker. A, the government of the Republic of Zambia, through the Rural Electrification Authority, REA, has plans of electrifying the upgraded secondary schools in Mbabane parliamentary constituency, that is Mawea-Tuba, Mangunza, Smaubi, Mbabane, and Manda. B, connection to Mawea-Tuba Secondary School was commissioned on 5 September 2022 by ZESCO. Further, REA has planned to undertake scoping works for the other upgraded secondary schools in the second quarter of 2023. This will involve conducting feasibility studies in order to establish the scope of the works, Bureau of Quantities, and the cost of electrification for possible electrification in the year 2024. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Supplementary questions. The Honorable Member for Bahati.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Minister, for the response. Minister, I want to find out from you, I want clarity from you. In this year's budget, government set aside 750 million kwacha for RIA, which can possibly do about 500 kilometers. If we were to divide that into constituencies, maybe it would do about 20 to 30 kilometers per constituency over distribution line. And there's a 156 million that will come from our CDF. So is it possible that we can get a certain percentage from the 156 and allocate to this need area in Mbabala constituency? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Acting Minister of Energy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think the Honorable Member for Bahati, I thank you for your question. The issue of the 1 million kwacha, the constituency that goes to each constituency, I think that is well debated. It should really go towards connections and so on. But I don't quite understand the gist of the question, because the original question deals with certain facilities. One day will be taken off the road to allow me to pass. So the facilities that are here, one of them is already being has already been connected. The others, we have said by 2024, it's for possible electrification. But I ask the individual members of parliament that have released the 1 million, they can talk to RIA to be able to direct that 1 million to wherever they want the electrification to take place. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, honorable members. This question is from Mbabala. So let's have supplementary questions focused on Mbabala. The honorable member for Chifugu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, I want to find out, you have indicated that the feasibility study and the scope of work is likely to commence in the second quarter. How long is it going to take so that we can have the indication when the works can start, so that our people can have the highly needed services in these schools in Mbabala? Thank you.
The Acting Minister of Energy.
Thank you. There is a feasibility study that will result in the determination of the Bill of Quantities and the scope of works will be completed within this year. And what I did say is, all things being equal, work can start certainly in 2024. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The honorable member for Katombola.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for allowing the people of Katombola to add up a question to to support our colleagues in Mbabala, because their situation is the same as in Katombola. Now, the Honorable Minister, you know, rural areas now, the way they are like war-torn zones, because they have not been developed for a long time by the previous government. And as a result, our children in schools are not able to do computer studies. Now, these upgraded schools, Mauvi, Maunza, Manda, in Mbabala, which is the same as in Katombola, what do you expect would happen, since the connectivity, you are talking of 2024 after the feasibility study? What happens to the computer studies that they have to learn and without electricity? What do you expect, Honorable Minister? Thank you.
The Acting Minister of Energy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. All the more reasons, the Honorable Member for Katombola, why, if you listen to the debate yesterday, when we are dealing with the bill for rural electrification, second reading, when there was an attempt to include other things onto rural electrification, we said that there's already a big job in terms of electrifying the rural areas. The reason we said that is because we know of the situation, such as what prevails in Bawala. There is so much work that requires to be done. But what we have said also is that waiting for connection to national grid and so on sometimes is not always the way to go. Some of these schools, local courts, rural health centers and clinics can be provided for by having standalone solar panels or solar systems, which can be included in CDF budgets if we need to get this connected as quickly as possible. But in terms of this particular question, you have to follow this process in order to develop the Bill of Quantities and the scope of works and be able to provide for it in the budget, which can only happen in the year 2024. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Next question, the Honorable Member for Milenge.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question 222.
The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Honorable Member of Parliament for Milenge, Honorable Chonde, asked the following question. A, whether the government will construct offices for the Department of Immigration at Kapalala border post in Milenge district. Madam Speaker, in responding to the questions raised by Honorable Chonde, I wish to inform the House as follows. The construction of offices for the Department of Immigration at Kapalala Crossing Point in Milenge district of Luapula province will commence when funds are made available. Land has been secured for both offices and houses for staff near the entry point. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Supplementary questions?
Yes. Thank you very much.
The Honorable Member for Mirengi.
Thank you. Minister, this is a very sensitive situation in Milenge because the movement of people, Milenge and the Copper Belt is separated by that strip in the Congo, which is about 89 kilometers. So you find that there's regular movements of people in search of green pastures on the Copper Belt. So to sit here and turn a blind eye, because we can't account for our people, there's always daily pilgrimage of people movement to and from. Do you have any measures now that you can hear what is happening in Milenge to attend to this particular situation in Milenge? I thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'm aware of the situation obtaining in Milenge and in particular Kapalala border post. I want to inform my colleague that Kapalala border post is being serviced by Milenge, where we have 5 immigration officers who superintend over this particular area. We are aware of the challenges, but he is also aware of the financial situation that is currently obtaining in the country. The spirit is willing, but we cannot afford to go and start constructing because the body is weak.
The Honorable Member for Kamfinsa.
Madam Speaker, allow me to ask a follow-up question to the Minister of Home Affairs. Minister, yesterday we had a conversation regarding the challenge of smuggling of mealie meal, and I'm sure as a cross-cutting issue, the issue of patrolling a border and ensuring that the border is well managed comes into play. Honorable Minister, are you in a position to state how much money would be required for this very important facility so that together, working with the Member of Parliament in the affected area, a solution could be found? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I would not be in a position to categorically state the amount of money that will be required to construct this particular border post. I can advise my colleague to come to the office. We'll sit together with my officers and assess the immediate requirement to construct a border post at Kapalala. And if possible, and if the Member of Parliament has an option, we'll consider that particular option. But I also want to mention here, Madam Speaker, that you may be aware that I did make a commitment to the floor of this House, on the floor of this House, that for the first time, we are recruiting border guards. And these border guards, Madam Speaker, have started training in Sondela. Once they graduate, we'll be able to send border guards to specific areas where the need will arise.
The Honorable Member for Lubansenshi.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity to allow the people of Lubansenshi to ask a question regarding Milenge constituency. Honorable Minister, are you able to tell the people of Milenge constituency how many people are you expecting to employ as immigration officers and other supporting officers so that the people of Milenge can expect some jobs in that constituency? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we are not recruiting from Milenge. We are recruiting from the country of Zambia. And those who qualify and those who qualified are the ones who will be sent to Milenge.
The Honorable Member for Milenge.
Taking advantage of the interface I have with the Minister, and I appreciate your invitation. The situation of your officers in Milenge is so sad. You have 5 officers, no accommodation, they are squatting, they don't have transport, and yet it's a border post. I just wanted you to know that. Now, in responding to the question from Honorable Member of Namfinsa, you said there's no cost. So now that there's no cost, do you have a design for this particular border post, or do you have standard designs that you think will be applicable in Milenge? Because that will give us the chance to arrive at the cost of constructing this border post. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Madam Speaker, I didn't say that there is no cost. What I did mention is that I do not have the figures immediately to give to my colleague, but I have invited him to the office so that we meet with the technocrats and look at the border post that we intend to put up in Kapalala. And if there is funding available through other sources, including CDF, we'll be able to provide for Kapalala.
The Honorable Member for Chifugu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, this border point is a very, very important point. It does not only involve the movement of the people, it also involves the movement of goods. Now, considering the conditions of the 5 people who are there currently serving it, is quite pathetic, and also there is absence of other government departments such as Zambia Revenue Authority that are supposed to be collecting some revenue there. The police that are supposed to be manding also there, and many others. It is quite sensitive and a very fragile situation Honorable Minister, are you not considering even bringing in, what is your ministry doing? Is it not considering bringing in even some cooperating partners who can come in the interim whilst government is, doesn't have money for now, to come in so that at least we can put up the infrastructure, which is productive and profitable, because I know it will also bring in the generation of money when ZRA move on site. Are you considering cooperating partners to come on board to assist? Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It would appear, Madam Speaker, that we are at cross purposes. My colleague is talking about Milenge border post. That is not the question. The question relates to Kapalala in Milenge district. Milenge border post is serviced by 5 immigration officers as far as the situation is obtaining. I also want to mention that there's a misconception pertaining to the flow of people crossing at this Kapalala. According to our report, Madam Speaker, the area which is called Kapalala Crossing Point, has very low traffic. That the number of people crossing are between 1 and 2 that cross at Kapalala, according to the reports. Most of the people who want to cross into Congo use the other border point. That is the information we have.
The last one, the Honorable Member for Shiwangandu.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, your responses are appreciated. I would like to just take this opportunity to get some clarity. In your response to the follow-up question from the Honorable MP from Lenge, in trying to assure him that you deploy further human resource to beef up the 5 officers at Milenge border, you made reference to these border guards we are saying are being trained at Sondela. And it would then mean these are going to be semi-military in terms of their work. How will these guards be working in relation to the immigration officers that are already on the ground? And if they are being trained at Sondela, it would appear they will be operational in nature. They won't be as regular as our ordinary officers. Can you make a clarification so that the members of the public can know that they will be either working hand in hand with the immigration officers, and if you have to assign them at Kapalala, it will be just an operation area for them to do specific duties, so that we can get clarity on now, because the way we have paramilitary, for example, mobile, they have got distinct duties that are assigned to them. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
I wish to thank my colleague, the Honorable Member of Parliament for Shiwangandu, for that particular question, where he wants me to clarify pertaining to the role of the border guards. As the term implies, they will be there to assist the immigration officers to provide security in the areas they will be assigned. They will be guarding the borders. These immigration officers, they are also immigration officers, but they are armed immigration officers. They will be operating like paramilitary or police officers in those areas.
Thank you. We make progress. Notice of motion, the Honorable Member for Momba.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the House do adopt the report of the Planning and Budgeting Committee on the review of the 3rd and 4th quarter performance of the 2022 budget for the second session of the 13th National Assembly laid on the table of the House on Friday, 17th March 2023.
Is the motion seconded?
Seconded, Madam Speaker.
Seconded by the Honorable Member for Milenge. The question is that this House do adopt the report of the Planning and Budgeting Committee on the review of the third and fourth quarter performance of the 2022 budget for selected ministries and provinces for the second session of the 13th National Assembly laid on the table of the House on Friday, 17th March 2023. Any debate? The Honorable Member for Momba.
Madam Speaker, in accordance with the Standing Order number 195-4 of the National Assembly Standing Orders 2021, the committee reviewed the budget performance for selected ministries and provinces for the third and fourth quarter of the 2022 financial year. From the outset, Madam Speaker, I wish to inform this August House that this was the first time that the committee undertook a review of the third and fourth quarter budget performance, as previously the committee only reviewed the performance of the first and second quarters. This made a milestone enable the committee to analyze the performance of the selected ministries and provinces throughout the year of 2022. Therefore, I wish to urge the House to adopt the report of the committee that reviews the performance of the 2022 budget with respect to the selected ministries and provinces. Madam Speaker, it is a well-known fact that monitoring and evaluation, which is M&E, is a powerful public management tool that can be used to improve the way the government achieves results. In addition, just as the government needs financial, human resource, and accountability systems, it also needs good performance feedback systems, which is what the report of the committee intends to achieve. Madam Speaker, in the period under review, Zambia's gross domestic product growth rate was revised to 3% from 3.5%. It is noteworthy that most macroeconomic fundamentals were on the right trajectory. Notably, Madam Speaker, the annual inflation was wavering between 9.7 and 9.9%. Then the exchange rate closed the year at 18 kwacha 21 ngwe per $1, and interest rates averaged 25%. In addition, yield rates on the treasury bills and government bonds rose to an average of 13.8% and 22.8% respectively. And as at the close of the year, gross international reserves were at United States dollars 3.02 billion, which is equivalent to 3.8 months of import cover. In spite of the positive economic performance recorded thus far, the country remains vulnerable to external shocks such as unstable copper prices and reduction in copper production. This is in addition to the effects of the Ukraine and Russia conflict, which has threatened the supply chain of essential commodities. It is therefore, Madam Speaker, necessary for the government to remain responsive if economic growth is to be secured. The government should not neglect wholesale expenditure on the capital formation and developmental activities, which are key for economic growth. Madam Speaker, I'm confident that the honorable members have had the occasion to peruse through the report of the committee, and I will therefore only highlight very few salient points. Number one, Madam Speaker, is the failure to narrow the fiscal deficit. Madam, the committee extols the government for ensuring that there was budget credibility during the period under review, as major expenditure lines were either fully funded or overfunded from savings made from the debt service standards. It expresses concern, that is the committee, Madam Speaker, over the government's failure to meet the set fiscal deficit target. The committee notes that the government missed the target of 6.7% of the fiscal deficit to gross domestic product in 2022, and expresses serious concern that the fiscal target of 7.7% set for 2023 is too high and is inconsistent with the 6.4% target which is set for 2023 that is being proposed in the 8th National Development Plan. The committee therefore recommends that the government should put in place measures to ensure sustainable utilization of resources to avert further debt accumulation. Number two, Madam Speaker, is the issue of the non-deductibility of mineral royalty. The committee observes with concern that Zambia has changed its mineral tax regime 10 times in the last 16 years. Of particular concern is the mineral royalty tax. The committee notes that in 2021, the total tax contribution by the mining companies was higher, as it included 6.4 billion kwacha mineral royalty, which was non-deductible. Conversely, in the second half of 2022, the non-tax revenue underperformed by 13.9% in comparison to the second half of 2021 rather, where non-tax revenue overperformed by 79.1%. Madam, the committee notes that this underperformance is due to undercollection in mineral tax by 31.7%, as it is now deductible. The committee therefore recommends that the government should have targeted this incentive to deduct mineral oil tax as an expense only to greenfield mines and not for the ones already in operation. While noting that the policy shift is meant to spur economic development, economic growth and not stifle investment, the mining sector, the committee recommends that the government should prompt this policy shift. Number three, Madam Speaker, is the failure to implement projects under Rural Electrification Agency. Madam Speaker, another issue of concern is the low burn rate of resources at the Ministry of Energy. Inasmuch as the Treasury had fully released funds to the Ministry of Energy, the Ministry of Energy failed to implement a number of projects, among them the renewable and alternative energy projects, the rural electrification project, and the energy survey to the detriment of the energy sector. In view of the foregoing, Madam Speaker, the committee urges the executive to ensure that the Ministry of Energy is proactive in the implementation of energy projects. Further, the committee urges the executive to implement holistic measures, Madam Speaker, to eliminate delays in the implementation of programs that are due to the winding procurement procedures. Madam Speaker, in conclusion, I wish to place on record our sincere appreciation to the stakeholders who provided information to the committee. Madam Speaker, gratitude also is extended to the Office of the Clerk for the support rendered to the committee during its work. Madam Speaker, I beg to move.
Thank you. Does the seconder wish to speak now or later?
Now, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Milenge.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity. In seconding the motion, Madam Speaker, that has been ably moved by our chairman, urging the House to adopt the committee, to adopt a report on the committee that gives analysis of the performance of the 2022 budget that was selected, of the selected ministries and provinces, which was laid on the floor of the House on the 17th March 2023. I will proceed to give a few comments. I'll restrict myself to about 3 comments or 4. In seconding, to start with, the first one, it is your committee. There are certain things that my chairman may not have commented that the committee received. And these are, the first one, to enhance coordination of sector ministries with the provincial administration. The committee observed that there's lack of coordination between the sector ministries in the provinces and the provincial administration. As a result, there is activities and wastage, okay, and wastage of the activities has resulted into duplication and wastage of resources at the provincial level. The committee also observes that the various sector ministries have pre-planned projects which the provincial administration are often not aware of and are not part to from the inception, but are expected to monitor and evaluate the projects. In light of the above, the committee recommends that the executive should, as a matter of urgency...
Honorable Member, as the time is 16:40 hours, I suspend business for 20 minutes for health break.
Very much for still watching Parliament television, and on the floor of the House is Milenge Member of Parliament Gustav Chonde, who is seconding the motion moved by Member of Parliament Fred Chatila, and the motion is that this House do adopt the report of the Planning and Budgeting Committee on the review of the third and fourth quarter performance of the 2022 budget for selected ministries and provinces for the second session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Friday, 17th March 2023. And of course, the motion is expected to continue after the break. Just now, the House has gone on break, and the business will resume at 17 hours. And for now, we take a break.
Constituency officers are vital linkages between the Zambian people and Parliament. They play a critical role in enhancing the representative role of members of Parliament and the electorates. The people of Malole constituency in Mungwi district, Northern Province, have been gifted with this beautiful constituency office, built with the assistance of the Development Bank of Germany. In 2012, the National Assembly of Zambia entered into a financial cooperation agreement project aimed at strengthening parliamentary control in Zambia. A number of constituency offices have been constructed under this project, including Malole Constituency Office. Speaker of the National Assembly, the Right Honourable Ms. Nelly Muti, was on hand to officially commission the Malole Constituency Office. Prior to the event, Madam Speaker paid a courtesy call on Paramount Chief Chitimukulu Mwinelubemba.
We've come in your kingdom, and according to tradition, we cannot do anything else before you bless us, so that the work that we've come for can be blessed by you. The work that we have come for, as the minister said, is to officiate, open the office, the constituency office that has been built in Malole. It's the 17th one, and in total we have built 45 constituency offices. Our intention is to build 156 constituency offices in each and every province. We believe that a constituency office is very important because of, especially now that the CDF constituency fund has been expanded, and also the interaction with the people has to be done at constituency level.
We are actually very privileged and honored to have this rare chance of meeting. On the whole, we are very grateful and we congratulate you for having successfully been appointed as Speaker representing our female.
After the courtesy call, the speakers in Tuaraj left for Malole, where Madam Speaker officially commissioned the Malole Constituency Office. She implored on the people of Malole to guard the office jealously.
I would like to emphasize that this office is non-partisan and has been established to serve all the people of this constituency, regardless of their political affiliation. I encourage you to use it to the best of your abilities, safeguard it against any vandalism, and ensure that the development you want to see in your various communities is attained through this important office. When I look on my right and see this beautiful office, it's yellow, nice windows, not broken, everything looks intact. When you go inside also, we see the furniture that has been provided. Let's maintain it in that way. May I take this opportunity to extend our special thanks to the Development Bank of Germany for this good gesture. It's now my singular honor and privilege to declare Malole Constituency Office officially opened. I thank you.
Acting Clerk of the National Assembly, Mr. Roy Ngulube, was elated with the construction of the Malole Constituency Office for it to help bridge the gap between the Member of Parliament and the electorates.
The construction of constituency offices is an ongoing exercise. It is a very expensive venture, But we hope that with the support of the local communities and all of us gathered here today, what we are witnessing is simply a seed that will transcend other areas of the country. Madam Speaker, the opening of this office obviously is going to provide office accommodation, which is going to facilitate the provision of essential support services, especially that members of parliament are expected not only to be in Lusaka, but also to be in their constituencies to continue to perform their representative roles.
And Provincial Minister for Northern Province, Mr. Leonard Mbao, is equally delighted with the construction of the constituency office.
As Northern Province, we would like to thank the National Assembly for embarking on parliamentary reforms which have resulted in the construction of this office. As a province, we are convinced that the commissioning of Malole Constituency Office will result in increased citizen participation in civic affairs of this nation. This is very, very important office.
Development Bank of Germany Director Mr. Stefan Lutz highlighted the details of the project.
KfW has proudly supported the National Assembly of Zambia since 2012 with 4 million euros, approximately 86 million kwacha, fostering political participation. About half of the funding was invested into 17 constituency offices all over the country. The very last one here in Malole, which costed 1.672 million kwacha. The other half of the funding was used on equipping the parliamentarian television and radio stations, as well as on capacity building for all staff involved and for printing and outreach materials. We are very happy to have supported the vivid democracy in Zambia, also with this important project. And we do encourage all Zambians to make use of these constituency offices, meeting your political representative, but also discuss with the opposition in an open and fair manner. Also, we hope that you all enjoy the parliamentarian radio and TV to be better informed.
Malole Member of Parliament Mr. Robert Kalimi paid glowing tribute to the National Assembly of Zambia and the Development Bank of Germany for facilitating the construction of the constituency office.
I'm just a very, very privileged Member of Parliament who stand before you to witness this important mammoth task and indeed the love you have expressed for the people of Malole to open this parliamentary office. The official opening of this office indeed will improve the delivery of valuable parliamentary information to the constituent, such as parliamentary debate, government department, annual reports and newsletter on various issues, and indeed to increase participation of constituency in national matters through effective interaction with my office. Allow me to thank you and the office of the clerk for this important infrastructure built for the people of Malole parliamentary constituency. I have no doubt in my mind that the people of Malole will utilize it for its intended purpose.
After the speeches, Madam Speaker was taken on a conducted tour of the constituency office. Madam Speaker and other dignitaries then participated in a tree planting exercise, an activity that raises awareness to society on the importance of planting and saving trees, all in an effort to diminish the unfavorable effects of climate change. Madam Speaker then headed back to Lusaka, content that the people of Malole will now be interacting with a Member of Parliament in a conducive environment.
Julian Inyemba. Those were my names given by my parents. But I have a very funny name, a nickname, which was given to me by my father, Mfanki. This is the name which I'm known even in the constituency. Even by the little girl, I'm known by this name, the nickname. But it is not on my professional papers, neither on my NRC. Then in the teaching fraternity, because I was a teacher, I'm known as Mrs. Kapia, because I was married to Mr. Kapia. So when you go in the teaching fraternity, I'm Mrs. Kapia. When you go to the constituency of Chifunabuli, I am Mfanki. When you come to parliament and on a professional level, certificates, it's Julian Inyemba. I'm a widow. My late husband, Mr. Lucius Constantino Kapia, died in 1991. He was working here at National Assembly. I'm a mother of two, a girl and a boy. A girl aged 32 and a boy aged 30. I went to Mansa Teachers Training College after completing grade 12 or Form 5 at that time from Samsha Secondary School, because first of all I went to Lubwe Primary School for the Catholics. Then I qualified. I went to St. Mary's Secondary School in Kawambwa, where I did Form 1 to Form 3. Because of financial challenges, I shifted. I got a transfer. I went to Samsha Secondary School, where I did Form 4 and Form 5. From there, I went to Mansa Teachers Training College and pursued a certificate in primary teaching. Then I went to teach at Lukwesa Primary School in Mwense District. Then when I got married to my late husband, Mr. Kapia, I shifted to Lusaka in 1987. Then I taught at Justin Kabwe in Mandevu. I taught at Olympia Primary School in Olympia. And then I taught also at Bama Primary School before I went on voluntary separation to go and do my own things, because I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a teacher and an entrepreneur at the same time. So I went on voluntary separation from the government. Chifunabuli constituency is a new created district which was declared by His Excellency Dr. Edgar Chagwalungu in 2018. In 2018. Chifunabuli has got potential to grow because it has got a lot of water bodies. And Chifunabuli people, as I know, they are hardworking and they would want to do whatever government program is being brought, especially the women folk, because I've gone there as an example to them. I come from a rural area. I was born there and I was brought up there. No wonder I took up this responsibility. Right now, Chifunabuli is on a good road to development, especially if we use the water bodies for agriculture throughout the whole year. And when we can even go for fish farming and then the growing of rice. If we can only have people who can go and invest in Chifunabuli, especially in the growing of rice, cattle rearing, fish farming, and vegetable growing, anything. Chifunabuli has got a fertile land, it has got plenty of water, good rainfall pattern. My developmental agenda for Chifunabuli, looking at Chifunabuli, which was under the missionaries for a long time, the white fathers, they developed Chifunabuli, and Chifunabuli had a lot of people who were educated, but I have observed the literacy levels have gone up. So I'm now advocating for all the parents to be taking their children to school. When you've got an educated society, an informed society, things will be easy for you. And then the development would even come, because most of the people would be able to understand the agendas and the programs for the government. The last word to the people of Chifunabuli is that I have stood as an example to them, especially the women folk. They are supposed to look at me as an example. I have gone into the constituency, interacting with them, encouraging them to do small businesses, encouraging them to grow food, to protect their families with food security at the household levels. I'm always there. I'm encouraging them so that we work together as a team. We shouldn't only be looking at men. I have done it. Chifunabuli women can also do it. So I'm their role model, That's why I always go there to encourage them to do one or two things. We have formed clubs where we are rearing chickens, we are rearing, we are keeping goats, and we are also going into agriculture and into fish farming with the youths and the women in Chifunabuli. I want Chifunabuli to go back to the roots where our parents taught us to work and then to have self-discipline. Tumwebe nangumbo banamayo na batata nemisepela chentubombele pamo nsala nindi minwa tempulirwa chentubomfya menshile satupele chentubomfya nomushili usumole satupele kuchifunabuli ifwenga kwali babashuka ifwe na chifunabuli twalikwata mensha yengi twalikwata nomushili usuma wotwingali mamwe filimwa fya kweba tumwaka wonse tuleli okwabulo okubulwa.
Thank you very much for still watching Parliament Television. The House is still on a 20 minutes break and business is expected to resume at 17 hours. And just before the break, we had on the floor of the House Milenge Member of Parliament, Mr. Gustav Chonde, who was seconding a motion that was moved by Momba Member of Parliament, Mr. Fred Chatila, and this is urging the House to adopt the report of the Planning and Budgeting Committee on the review of the third and fourth quarter performance of the 2022 budget for selected ministries and provinces for the second session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Friday, 17th March 2023, and business is expected to continue. Business of the House is expected to continue with this motion that has been moved by Momba Member of Parliament. And still to come, we have two bills that are expected to be considered at a committee stage, and we have the National Pension Scheme Amendment Bill. This is National Assembly Bill number 1 of 2023. And we also have the Rural Electrification Bill, National Assembly Bill number 5 of 2023, also expected to be considered at committee stage. And earlier on, when the business of the House resumed, or the questions for oral answer were answered, and some of the questions posed from various members of Parliament included the question 217, which was of an urgent nature, and it came from Chinsali, Member of Parliament, Mr. Kalalwe Mukosa, and he posed this question to Her Honor the Vice President, and wanted to know whether government is aware that the following bridges in Chinsali parliamentary constituency have become unusable due to heavy rains, thereby making connectivity impossible. And these are Chivesa in Lubwa district and Misonta in Chambeshi ward. And he wanted to know what urgent measures are being taken to restore connectivity in the constituency. We also had a question from Chama North Member of Parliament, Mr. Mutaya Chalo. He wanted to find out from the Minister of Mines and Minerals Development. He wanted to know whether government is aware of the presence of gypsum and other minerals in Chama district, and he also wanted to know, if so, what measures the government is taking to prevent illegal mining activities. And just now we cross over to the floor of the House.
Madam Speaker.
have the quorum? Okay.
It seems a quorum is yet to be constituted, and as now the bells are still ringing in order for the members to come back to the House to continue debates. So some of the questions that have been posed and tackled so far in the House also came from Kaika Member of Parliament, and he posed a question to the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development, and he wanted to know why the rehabilitation of Chimpende Lupande Road in Mkaika Parliamentary Constituency has stalled, and when the project will resume, and what the cost of the project is, and what the time frame for the completion of the project is. And we also had a question that came from Magoe Member of Parliament, and he posed a question to the Minister of Fisheries and Livestock, and he wanted to know whether government has any plans to construct deep tanks in Magoe Parliamentary Constituency, and if so, how many deep tanks will be constructed in the constituency, and when the plans will be implemented, and if there are no such plans, why. We also had one question from Mbabala Member of Parliament, Mr. Monsanje, and he posed a question to the Minister of Energy and wanted to know whether government has any plans to electrify the following upgraded secondary schools in Mbabala Parliamentary Constituency, and these are Mabweatuba, Mangunza, Simauvi, Mbabala, and Manda, and if so, when the plans will be implemented. We also had...
When business was suspended, the House was considering the report of the Planning and Budgeting Committee, and the Honorable Member for Milengi was debating. May the Honorable Member continue.
In view of the effects of uncoordinated effects of the government, your committee the committee recommends that the executive should urgently, should urgently implement budget tracking system at provincial levels and centers to enhance coordination. In addition to that, the committee urges the executive to consider channeling the resources meant for capital projects under the respective
Order, honorable members. Who is disturbing the member on the floor? Can we concentrate?
Is the minister, Madam Speaker.
Honorable member, you may continue.
Yes. Yeah. In addition, the committee urges the executive to consider channeling resources meant for capital projects under respective sectors operating in the province to the budget provincial administration to enhance effective use of public resources and verification. 2, constrained fiscal space. The committee observed that a paltry 12% was spent on productive capital projects such as roads, rural electrification, water and sanitation. Conversely, 50% of the total expenditure accounted for the public service wage bill and debt payment, accounting for 71% of the domestic revenue. While noting the debt standstill, the constrained fiscus, the committee recommends that government should not neglect wholesale expenditure on capital formation and developmental activities which are a key for economic growth. The third observation, Madam Speaker, is the restructuring of debt under the G20. The committee observes that government has been making interest.
The honorable member on the floor, kindly be advised that you are not supposed to read.
Madam Speaker, I appreciate your guidance, and obviously I'm not reading word by word. I'm trying to be accurate. These are important. These are important things. We need to guide the new government. It's a new government, like I'm a new member of parliament, so we need clear guidance in terms of providing checks and balances. I may ride on your discretion, Madam Speaker. And I want to be very accurate because these were committee's recommendations, and we want to be as accurate as received. Yeah. Yeah. The committee observes. The committee observes. You think I'm getting. Yeah, I'm reading for reference. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And in fact, let me read properly because I can read.
Honorable Member for Milenge, next time please take into consideration that your standing orders do not permit. But as for now, you may continue so that we make progress.
I always appreciate your guidance, Madam Speaker, and I have to ride on your discretion. Thank you. Yeah. The committee observes that the government has been making interest payment on public debt without necessarily paying a full amortized loans due to the ongoing debt restructuring. This debt restructuring discussion, while noting that this has helped to free some resources which have been used in other sectors, important sectors, such as health and education, the committee observes with concern that the current arrangement is not a solution. It's not a solution to postponement of the problem. It's actually a postponement of the problem, particularly in the event that the restructuring of debt may not succeed. She's 7, you know. It's not finally. Introduction of education levy and the full implementation of, as a fourth observation, Madam Speaker. The committee observes that this particular concern was passed in 2019 in order to reinforce the education sector. In light of the above, Madam Speaker, the committee recommends that the government should consider introducing education levy to ensure that programs such as feeding programs in schools, monitoring of exams, and development of early education centers are fully implemented. In conclusion, in conclusion, allow me to support the move of the motion in seconding it. Madam Speaker, despite the jittering by members in the House, the people of Milenge are very happy that you gave us a chance to second the motion. I'm grateful. Thank you.
Order. Thank you, Honorable Member for Milenge. Any further debate? The Honorable Member for Lunte.
Madam Speaker, thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to comment on the report done by my colleagues in the Planning and Budgeting Committee. I want to thank my honorable brother, Honorable Fred Chatila, for moving this motion, and the Honorable MP for Milenge for seconding it. Madam Speaker, this is a very well done report, 60 pages, and I took time to read this report. Here is how your committee finished their work. On page 58, the final observation and recommendation. The committee says, the committee extols the executive for putting up an arrears dismantling strategy, notwithstanding the committee's resolve to await a progress report on the actual dismantling of arrears for staff in the civil service. Madam Speaker, it is the same UPND government which crafted the plan to dismantle arrears, for which the committee is saying until they bring that report, they will await. Nevertheless, the committee is very happy that that particular plan is in place. But what does the mover of the motion says? Is concerned that in this report, the fiscal deficit target has been missed. He is also concerned that the plan for 7.7 fiscal deficit for 2023 is too high. In terms of fiscal consolidation, in a narrowing income country, he sees these as very, very unfortunate measures. But also he says the 8th National Development Plan indicates that the government was targeting 6.4, but yet they went and produced 7.7, which is too high. Madam Speaker, I want to just comment on 4 things on page 14 of this report. Page 14. Page 13 and 14. It's just the next page. The releases towards social benefits amounted to 1.8 billion in the fourth quarter of 2021 compared to 1 billion in 2022. Madam Speaker, government reduced the amount of social cash transfer to be paid to vulnerable people in 2022 by 800 million. Now, can you imagine what the implication of the reduction by 800 million is when the people are suffering, when there are more poor people, more than they were in 2021? Then the government goes ahead and reduces the social cash transfer. That is very unfortunate. It is my call to the UPND government to increase the amount of social cash transfer even as they budget for the fourth quarter of 2023 in the supplementary budget. Madam Speaker, page 15, there's the next page. Page 15. It was explained that 2022 budget was largely credible as major expenditure lines were either fully funded or overfunded from savings made from the debt service standstill. Madam Speaker, in 2022 budget, there was no budgeting for debt service standstill. So already, the fact that there is a debt service standstill, that means the budget is not credible. And then you are not paying debt service, then you use that money to pay programs, and you call that overfunding, and you call that credibility. Madam Speaker, government must begin to say things which are real and not massaging, because that money was budgeted to pay debt service. So you can't bring that money and pay programs and say we are a credible government. Madam Speaker, on page,
Point of order, Madam Speaker.
on page 17.
Order. There is an indication for a point of order. The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs, what is your point of order?
Madam Speaker, I would like to thank you most sincerely for according me this opportunity to raise a point of order on the member debating. And the point of order is anchored on Standing Order number 65. Madam Speaker, the Honorable Member of Parliament for Lunte is quoting from a report of the committee. Yet he's blaming the government for the content of that report. Is he in order to mislead, Madam Speaker, is he in order to mislead himself and the House by blaming government on a report that has been generated by your committee? Is he in order, Madam Speaker?
Thank you so much for that point of order. My guide would be, please, let's just follow what is in the report. And then also, the Minister of Finance will come and respond. But let us try as much as possible to follow what is in the report so that the people who are listening out there, they are also given the correct information. Mind you, this is a very interesting subject, and a lot of people are actually listening to what is being debated or what is being said in this House. So with that guide, you can proceed.
Madam Speaker, I will not depart from the report because of your guidance, but also that was my intention. Madam Speaker, drugs and medical supplies, quarter 3 of 2021, 1.6 billion. Quarter 4, 2022, 2.8 billion. Wouldn't you be worried that when money was more, there have been no drugs in hospitals? Is there any correlation between more money and no drugs? I expect a lot of issues in the Auditor General's report, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, on FISIP, the government budgeted 5.3 billion and put in 7.6 billion in a year where people got 1 bag, 2 bags, medals, and so on and so forth. I expect a lot of audit queries. Madam Speaker, if the Auditor General is going to do a good job, it is my expectation that what we are going to have is going to be revealing in terms of misapplication of resources. Madam Speaker, the last thing I would like to comment about is now, I was confused by the point of order. The last thing I wanted to comment about, what is that now? I think you managed to do your job, sir, because you really confused me. Madam Speaker, I expect a good auditor's report based on the information contained in the committee's report vis-a-vis what is happening in our country today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Itezitezi. Itezitezi, are you ready to debate?
Sure. I'm ready, Madam Speaker. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. I would want to, for giving the opportunity to the people of Itezitezi to add their voice on this important report. I'll make a quick comment on the recommendation that has come from this report with regard to head number 80 on education, where there is a strong recommendation to introduce education levy. Madam Speaker, I want to mention that the UPND government introduced free education, and the free education has attracted a lot of interest from the parents and the children who are languishing in the streets. So far, it's indicating that we have over 81% increase in terms of enrollment in all our schools. And the government has demonstrated in various ways that they want to sustain this free education and see to it that it's not only quantitative, but it should be qualitative education. The budget...
The Honorable Member for, is it Chirubi?
This is Chirubi, Madam Speaker.
Yes, the Honorable Member for Chirubi, you disturbed the person disturbing, and also you disturbed me as well. I think our standing orders are very clear. You are not supposed to pass in between the person debating and the speaker. I think you are a senior member. You know these things very well. Honorable Member, you may continue.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. So basically, Madam Speaker, the point I'm driving is that government is demonstrating that free education should become a reality. And free education should not only be quantitative, but it should be qualitative. We have seen a steady increase in the allocation which is going to the Ministry of Education, though not reaching the 20% benchmark for the SADC. Now, Madam Speaker, as we aspire to reach the 2030 goals of education and the sustainable development goals, Madam Speaker, I want to agree with the committee's recommendation that we strongly need to introduce education levy because the sector is suffocating. The demands are quite high. Despite what government has done with regard to increasing the grants in the secondary schools, we still see other needs that are coming forth, Madam Speaker, such as need for school uniforms, the need for books, the need for support on the girl child education, and so many other numerous needs that are coming. Therefore, I strongly agree, and I'm thinking the same way that this committee made the recommendations that education levy, it has to be introduced, Madam Speaker, perhaps replacing TV levy to education levy, so that the education system, at this point, it needs urgent support, and the education levy could be one of the levies that could be able to mitigate the challenges we are facing in our realization of not only quantity education, but quality education. Thank you so much, and I submit.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Chama North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for according me this opportunity on behalf of Chama North, just to make a brief comment on this particular report. And I want to take this opportunity to thank the mover and the seconder of this very, very important committee. Madam Speaker, I think I'll just highlight just a few areas in this particular report. I want to thank the committee. They did a good job. They came up with a very detailed report which can help actually this government to move this country forward. I think in this report they have highlighted the issue of the exchange rate. That in the first quarter we witnessed as a country the appreciation of the Zambian kwacha. And as a country, we thought that I think we are moving in the right direction. But I think of late, we have noticed that the kwacha has been depreciating at a very alarming rate, which I feel that government must put in measures to ensure that the kwacha does not depreciate further, because once the exchange rate is unstable, it pushes up the cost of living and also the cost of doing business in the country. Madam Speaker, the committee has highlighted the major reasons why the kwacha has been depreciating, that the importation of agricultural products, the purchase of drugs and petroleum products have been responsible for depreciation of the kwacha. So I think it is important that as a country we must take radical measures to ensure that our exchange rate remains stable, especially that Zambia is an import-oriented economy. And I think it is important that there are certain areas, like for example, where we are spending more money in terms of importing agricultural products. I feel that as a country, we must be able to support our own companies in this country, like Nitrogen Chemicals of Zambia, and encourage so many companies to come on board and ensure that we are able to produce these imports. That way we'll be able to save our foreign exchange. And also the committee says that the importation of drugs also contributed to the depreciation of the Zambian kwacha. And I think Zambia has been independent, Madam Speaker, for 58 years now. And we expect that at least this country should be able to source drugs locally. But 90% of our drugs in our hospitals are actually imported from other countries, South Africa and India. So I feel that let's promote the pharmaceutical companies in this country. I remember those days in Ndola, we had quite a number of those companies which are manufacturing drugs. But these companies, I think, have gone under. So the government must put in measures to ensure that we are able actually to manufacture only drugs in this country. Quickly, I go to the mining industry. The committee has noted that although copper production was increasing at a certain stage, we saw also declining copper production in the country. Copper accounts for 70% of our foreign exchange earning. So the mining industry continues to be a bedrock of the Zambian economy and contributing largely to our gross domestic product. So I think it is important that we must be able to ensure that we have an enabling environment for the growth of the mining sector in this country. And in the report, the committee has also noted that the challenges we have been facing in the mining industry could also be attributed to the challenges at the Mopani copper mines and also Kokora copper mines. I feel that government must find a solution to the challenges facing Mopani copper mines and also KCM. We thought that this was a window of opportunity for this country to own the mines, because I think the Zambian people have been complaining since the time of privatization that this country is not deriving maximum economic benefits from our mineral wealth. So I think it is important that as a country, let's not just depend on the foreign investors. We have so many investors who can invest in the mining industry. We have NAPSA, workers' compensation, and so many companies in this country. I feel that if we go in that direction, I think this country will be moving forward. We shall be creating more jobs for this country. We are going to have a stable and a stable economy. Madam Speaker, lastly, I want to comment on the budget credibility. The ability for the government to meet the expenditure and revenue targets accurately and consistently. Indeed, we have been told that certain key sectors were underfunded. For example, the rural electrification. Rural electrification, we know that the majority of our people in this country don't have access to electricity. So I think it is important that the Minister of Finance must ensure that the resources allocated to rural electrification are released timely, so that the Rural Electrification Authority would be able to electrify so many areas. We come from a rural constituency, for example, Chama North, where only 1 ward out of 13 wards have got electricity. So it is our appeal to the Minister of Finance that I think it is important that such critical sectors should not be underfunded at all. Infrastructure was underfunded, schools, hospitals, and also the issue of water infrastructure. I think it is important that these particular sectors are properly funded in order to promote growth in our economy. In conclusion, Madam Speaker, we have been talking about access, universal access to electricity by 2030. This is 2023, and we are remaining with only 7 years before 2023. So meaning that our people, by 2023, the majority of our people will not be able to access electricity. So I think as we are putting these benchmarks, Vision 2030, we must be able to allocate corresponding resources to some of these sectors if at all we have to really grow these particular sectors. With these few remarks, I say I support the report. Thank you.
Thank you. The last member, the Honorable Member for Shiwangandu.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for giving me a chance to also make a few comments on the motion ably moved by the chairperson of the Budget and Planning and Budget Committee to adopt the report of the committee on the review of the third and fourth quarter performance of the 2022 budget for selected ministries and provinces. Madam Speaker, my discourse will be premised on the part 4 of your report and paragraph 5, which is mainly dealing with the stakeholders' concerns. And the first concern, Madam Speaker, was the disbursement of full funding during the fourth quarter. And your report is highlighting the stakeholders' concerns that while the funds were released in the third and fourth quarters of 2022 and done fully, most of these funds were released in the fourth quarter of the year, meaning at the last end of the year. What this does, Madam Speaker, is to exert pressure on the spending agencies to try and make sure that they spend the money before the money could probably get back to the treasury. And it's during that time when most of the procedures are ignored, including the Public Finance Management Act, the Public Procurement Act, because people want to ensure that they spend the money at that late hour. So it's very important that the Minister of Finance ensures that the monies are released in good time so that the spending agencies can then plan, especially the protracted tendering processes and the procurement procedures which can take time to do. The second one is what my colleague was talking about, failure to implement projects under the Rural Electrification of Agency. Madam Speaker, it's with concern that out of the 377 million, 352,720 kwacha, only 51,524,005 kwacha was released and spent. This is less than, this is about 20%. Now you can imagine, Madam Speaker, how many rural areas would have been saved. So we need to improve, Honorable Minister, on the implementation of projects as they are designed. We have read that you have made some savings from not servicing the debt. So it is important that you take advantage to deal with some of the backlog projects that are outstanding. Open up the potential in the rural areas, and the dividends will come to the Treasury, Madam Speaker. The other concern, Madam Speaker, was the issue which was raised regarding the introduction of education levy. Yes, indeed, it has been a song, it has been praises regarding the free education. But we must assess the successes that are coming out of there. What challenges does this free education come with in order for the program to be successful? And that's why your report is still recommending to government that government consider introducing an education levy following the recommendation of the National Education Conference, which was held in 2019. And this was basically to just ensure that the funds that are allocated to the education sector are ring-fenced to ensure that there are no disruptions in the sector. We have seen classrooms overwhelmed, no desks. So now we are working in reverse to try and address those challenges. We could have done better by planning and then implement after we had put the enabling requirements in the schools. Madam Speaker, the other concern was the issue of dismantling arrears to local suppliers versus finalization of the audit. The Honorable Minister has come to this August House to inform us that his minister has embarked on an audit to ascertain the performance of these contractors. And stakeholders have again expressed their concern. And they are saying the local suppliers during the period under review were owed over 76 billion, which affected most of the local businesses' availability of liquidity in the economy. Stakeholders further noted that government had managed client-focused solutions and Pricewaterhouse to undertake an audit of the domestic debt at a cost, Madam Speaker, of 16.8 million. But the results of the audit have not yet been shared to the members of the public. Honorable Minister, while these people that were undertaking the audit have had their payment, their share, what about your local suppliers who have employed fellow Zambians? And this is the money that should come back into the economy. Why don't we get the audit report so that we know? Because at the end of the day, not every supplier would be found wanting. The value of the money you owe them won't be the same by the time you pay them. it is very important that we feel for our fellow citizens. And so, Madam Speaker, we are pleading with the Honorable Minister of Finance that, sir, take a look at your fellow citizens whose money you have been holding. The audits have been done. Let's know, so that those who have genuinely done business with government are given money, which money will come back into the economy. Holding on to their money is not a solution, because at the end of the day, they will have to be paid. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Finance and National Planning.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity to respond to the report that has been done by my former committee, Committee on the National Economy, Trade, and Labor Matters. To start with, I want to thank them for the report that has been produced. There are some important points that have been raised in the report, which we shall no doubt be able to follow, and those that we agree with, and there are many, and we have the means, we'll be able to implement the recommendations that have been made. So I want to thank the committee once again and all the members for this work that has been done. Let me now comment on some of the issues that colleagues have been raising on the floor. The first of which has been the credibility of the budget. Credibility of the budget, Madam Speaker, I think we can see it in two ways. The first aspect of credibility is, are your revenues roughly on track? And your expenditure also roughly on track? So that is one aspect of credibility. And I must say that for the first time since independence, the credibility of the 2022 budget, I think, tops it all. No, I have to be frank and tell you, for the first time since independence, the credibility of the 2022 budget tops the list. But there's also another important aspect of credibility. This is credibility on answering the question, did you spend money in the areas which you said you were going to spend money on? I say so, Madam Speaker, because so many times in the past, the budget says we are going to spend money on this, but what is done is something that is completely different. To give you an example, Madam Speaker, those of you who were in the last Parliament, you recall how year after year we would allocate money for CDF. Not even large amounts of money. Very moderate amount of money, 1.2 million, 1.6 million. But Madam Speaker, over that 5-year period, we only received CDF how many times? For some people, 2.5. For others, 3. Yes. So, when you budgeted for money, but you do not release it, that is a very clear indicator of lack of credibility. This government, or rather, let me say 2022, when we budgeted for CDF, Madam Speaker, 100% of the CDF was all released. That is credibility. That is credibility. Madam Speaker, even for 2023, the CDF amount that we approved in December, the first quarter of CDF of 2023 has been released in full. That is credibility. Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, we did commit ourselves under the 2022 budget that we will hire how many teachers? 6,400 teachers. That's the commitment that we made. And many of our colleagues, especially those on the left, coming from a culture of not being credible in budgeting, they said these teachers will not be hired. The UPND government is just deceiving the country. Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, I'm glad to say that all the teachers, the 30,000 teachers plus, all the 11,000 plus teachers,
Order, Honorable Minister. There's an indication for a point of order. Honorable Member for Shuangando, what is your point of order? Just to announce that this is the last point of order, because we want to make progress.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much. I raise this point of order pursuant to Standing Order 65(1)B. Madam Speaker, you have got this volume of the committee's report, and it's very detailed. And ideally, we expected the Minister of Finance to come with a response that he was going to then leave on the floor than those copious notes he's using. Let's get serious with business, Madam Speaker. The Honorable Minister is a senior member. You keep quiet.
Order, honorable members. Order. We want to make progress. What is the point of order? You can continue.
Madam Speaker, the Honorable Minister, who is a senior member, was a minister for 3 fiscal years under the Movement for Multi-Party Democracy regime. When he comes on the floor and says, since independence, the only time there's been credibility in a budget is under 2022. What is the minister saying about those 3 fiscal years he saved during the multi-party democracy, that all the budgets he brought here were not credible? We must have records set straight on the floor of this August House, Madam Speaker. You, Mongo, keep quiet. What's your problem? It's too loud, Madam Speaker.
And wind up your point of order.
Is the Honorable Minister of Finance in order to ignore your report, which is very clear, and opt to start politicking to the extent where he has even cast doubt on the budgets that he had presented to this August House in the past? I seek your serious guidance.
Thank you so much for that point of order. I'm going to reserve my ruling so that I look at the matter in details. So I'll come back to this House at a later stage to render my ruling. The Honorable Minister of Finance, you may proceed.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Indeed, the report is huge, and the only way one can intelligently comment on it is by selecting certain aspects of the report. That's how we do these things. And Madam Speaker, I was just saying that on education, and this was with respect to the credibility of the budget, because colleagues across there, they were challenging to say this budget was not credible. So I'm giving examples of credibility of that budget. And I was saying, when we said we would hire 30,000 teachers and 11,000 health workers, they did not believe it because they are not used to credibility in the budget. But, Madam Speaker, that was delivered in full. Madam Speaker, there were other examples.
Order, honorable members, I've ruled that I'm not going to take any more points of order. The honorable member for Kankoyo, please, we want to make progress. We have a lot of work before us. We are running out of time. Maybe can you please go back to your seat if you are disturbing? The Honorable Minister of Finance, you may continue.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Let me move on to the issue of the exchange rate, something that was also commented upon by earlier speakers. Indeed, Madam Speaker, the exchange rate of the Kwacha has had some pressure. There's no doubt about it. But, Madam Speaker, I think I've explained before that the main cause of this exchange rate instability arises from the fact that we have not yet concluded the debt restructuring. The debt that our colleagues left in the hands of this country. So that debt has consequences. However, Madam Speaker, I'm happy to say that we are getting there. Sooner rather than later, the debt problem, which they left for us, will be resolved, and the stability of the exchange rate will be assisted. On top of that, Madam Speaker, we know that to stabilize the exchange rate, you need foreign exchange in the country. That foreign exchange comes from the mining sector. That foreign exchange largely comes from the mining sector. As you recall, Madam Speaker, in the last 10 years, we've had mines being closed rather than opening new mines as we saw in other countries. KCM was left cannibalized. Mopani copper mines also left cannibalized. Of course, by the previous government. So, Madam Speaker, the PF, yes. Madam Speaker, to ensure that mining production revives and that there will be more foreign exchange in the country, I'm happy to say that we've gone a long way. We've gone a long way in sorting out the problems of the two big mining companies, so that by the second half of this year, we should have full activity taking place in those mining companies. Madam Speaker, a number of colleagues talked about under-budgeting of certain things. I did hear, for example, that rural electrification was underfunded. Madam Speaker, when you do a budget, you are making choices. When you are doing a budget, you are making choices about where to put money, where to put less money, and where to put more money. Those are choices that come with the budget. Now, in the case of this government, yes, we are aware that rural electrification is required. We are fully aware of that. But for now, the choices that we made as a country, was to hire teachers, which we have done, to hire health workers, which we have done, to increase CDF, which we have done. So, Madam Speaker.
You can conclude your...
Oh, I see.
You can continue and conclude.
Yeah, in the conclusion, let's just understand that if certain areas received less money, it was because there was a choice that was made to put money in certain sectors that are more desirable or most critical and less in other areas. Madam Speaker, I thank you for
Thank you. The honorable member for Kwankoyo was ordered to go back to his seat. The honorable member for Momba will wind up debate.
Madam Speaker, thank you very much once again. In winding up the debate, let me just thank my colleagues in the committee who worked very hard to produce this report, and also just to thank Honorable Chonde for seconding the motion. I want to recognize the input by Honorable Kafaya, Honorable Mutayo Chalo, Honorable Member of Parliament for Shuangandu, Honorable Kamchongo, and also Honorable Mutinta, Member of Parliament for Itesejo, and of course Honorable Minister. But Madam Speaker, just maybe to put the record straight, Rural Electrification Authority was fully funded because it sits under the Ministry of Energy. And the committee's concern is that there was a low burn rate. In fact, I'm happy when Honorable Kamchongo alluded to the figures. So the issue is really not about low funding, but it's all about them failing to utilize the funds that which was given to them. So I thought I'd just put that on the record. And also, lastly, Madam Speaker, just to indicate that I've been a member of this committee for 7 years now, and for sure 2022 and part of 2021, we have seen that in terms of funding, the ministries are either at 100%, even sometimes over 100% in terms of funding, unlike it was before. So this is a good milestone. Let me just thank all the members who debated on this motion, and thank you, Madam Speaker, once again for giving us this opportunity to work as a committee on planning and budgeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I put the question. The question is that this House do adopt the report of the Planning and Budgeting Committee on the review of the third and fourth quarter performance of 2022 of the 2022 budget for the selected ministries and provinces for the second session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Friday, 17th March 2023. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Of the contrary say no. I think the ayes have it. The question is resolved in the affirmative. The clerk will now read the orders of the day.
The National Pension Scheme Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 1 of 2023, committee stage.
I now consolidate orders number 1 and 2, and the House will now resolve into committee.
Order. The National Pension Scheme Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 1 of 2023. Clause 1, short title. Any debate? Any objection? Clause 1 is agreed to. Clause 2, amendment of Section 2. Any debate? Any objection? Clause 2 is agreed to. Clause 3, amendment of Section 9. Any debate? Any objection? Clause 3 is agreed to. Clause 4, amendment of Section 19. Any debate? Any objection? Clause 4 is agreed to. Clause 5, insertion of Section 19A. Any debate? Any objection? Clause 5 is agreed to. Clause 6,
insertion of new section 21A. Any debate? Any objection? Clause 6 is agreed to. Clause 7, amendment of section 24. Any debate? Any objection? Clause 7 is agreed to. Clause 8, amendment of section 34. Any debate? Any objection? Clause 8 is agreed to. Clause 9, amendment of section 53. Any debate? Any objection? Clause 9 is agreed to. Long title. Any debate? Any objection? Long title is agreed to. The bill will be reported to the House as having passed through the committee stage without amendment. Order. The Rural Electrification Bill, National Assembly Bill number 5 of 2023. Clause 1, short title. Any debate? Any objection? Clause 1 is agreed to. Clause 2, interpretation. Any debate? Any objection? Mr. Mngandu.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I've seen the gestures from the right that all the members don't even know what you are reading about. If I'm to ask you, what does section 2 that he has just announced there say? So, we need this. The bill is supposed to be circulated to the members so that we move with you, Chairperson. Eh? No, but procedurally, that's what we've been doing.
Order, honorable member.
So help us.
May you take your seat? Order, these bills have no amendments, apparently. So, those of you that have been here long enough are supposed to educate others. These bills don't have amendments. So, these are procedural notes. These are procedural notes. Chama South. Are we together? Are we together? Leader of opposition, are we together?
Mr. Speaker, we are now together. We reluctantly have decided to follow you.
All right, thank you. We are on clause 2. Let me repeat. Clause 2, interpretation, any debate, any objection. Clause 2 is agreed to. Clause 3, continuation of Rural Electrification Authority. Any debate, any objection? Clause 3 is agreed to. Clause 4, seal of authority. Any debate, any objection? Clause 4 is agreed to. Clause 5, functions of authority. Any debate, any objection? Clause 5 is agreed to. Clause 6, authority not subject to direction or control of the other person. Any debate, any objection? Clause 6 is agreed to. Clause 7, board of authority. Any debate, any objection? Clause 7 is agreed to. Clause 9, functions of board. Any debate, any objection? Clause 8 is agreed to. Clause 9, tenure of office and vacance of member. Any debate, any objection? Clause 9 is agreed to. Clause 10, proceedings of board. Any debate? Any objection? Clause 10 is agreed to. Clause 11, committees of board. Any debate? Any objection? Clause 11 is agreed to. Clause 12, allowances. Any debate? Any objection? Clause 12 is agreed to. Clause 11, disclosure of interest. Any debate? Any objection? Clause 13 is agreed to. Clause 14, director, secretary, and other staff. Any debate? Any objection? Clause 14 is agreed to. Clause 15, continuation of rural electrification fund. Any debate? Any objection? Clause 15 is agreed to. Clause 16, purpose of fund. Any debate? Any objection? Clause 16 is agreed to. Clause 17, management and administration of fund. Any debate? Any objection? Clause 17 is agreed to. Clause 18, control of use of fund. Any debate? Any objection? Clause 18 is agreed to. Clause 19, books of accounts. Any debate? Any objection? Clause 19 is agreed to. Clause 20, auditing of fund. Any debate? Any objection? Clause 20 is agreed to. Clause 21, annual report. Any debate? Any objection? Clause 21 is agreed to. Clause 22, funds of authority. Any debate? Any objection? Clause 22 is agreed to. Clause 23, financial year. Any debate? Any objection? Clause 23 is agreed to. Clause 24, accounts. Any debate? Any objection? Clause 24 is agreed to. Clause 25, annual report. Any debate? Any objection? Clause 25 is agreed to. Clause 26, immunity. Any debate? Any objection? Clause 26 is agreed to. Clause 27, prohibiting of publication or disclosure of information to an authorized person. Any debate? Any objection? Clause 27 is agreed to. Clause 28, execution of judgment. Any debate? Any objection? Clause 28 is agreed to. Clause 29, regulations. Any debate? Any objection? Clause 29 is agreed to. Clause 30, repeal of Act number 20 of 2003. Any objection? Any debate? Any objection? Clause 30 is agreed to. Schedule on page 18. Any debate? Any objection? Schedule on page 18 is agreed to. Long title. Any debate? Any objection? Long title is agreed to. The bill will be reported to the House having gone through the committee stage without amendment. Madam Speaker, I have to report to the House that the committee of the whole House has gone through the National Pensions Scheme Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill 1 of 2023 without amendment.
Day for third reading.
Tomorrow, Madam.
Third reading of the bill to be taken tomorrow. Next order.
Madam Speaker, I have to report to the House that the Committee of the Whole House has gone through the Rural Education Bill, National Assembly Bill number 5 of 2023 without amendment.
Day for third reading.
Madam Speaker, tomorrow.
Third reading of the bill to be taken tomorrow. The acting leader of business adjournment.
Madam Speaker, I move that the House do now adjourn.
The question is that the House do now adjourn. Any debate? Any objection? The question is agreed to. The House is now adjourned.
Thank you very much for staying with us on Parliament Television. Business for today has been concluded. And before we say goodbye for today, we have a look at what has been discussed on the floor of the House. We had 6 questions in total. One question was of an urgent nature, and that was Understanding Order 76, and the 5 questions under Understanding Order 74. And some of the questions came from Chinsali Member of Parliament, who posed one question actually to Her Honor the Vice President, and wanted to know whether government is aware that the following bridges in Chinsali parliamentary constituency have become unusable due to heavy rains, thereby making connectivity impossible. And in response, the government is aware of the unusable bridges in Chinsali due to heavy rains, and that the DMMU asked for 4 boats which the national office has since dispatched to Chinsali for use in the affected areas. And another question was posed by Mukaika Member of Parliament, Mr. Piri, and he wanted to find out from the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development why the rehabilitation of Chimtende Lupanda Road in Mukaika Parliamentary Constituency has stalled, and when the project will resume, and what the total cost is, and what the time frame for the completion of the project is. And in response, the Minister of Local Government and Rural Development informed the House that the project stalled due to non-availability of funds, and that the project will resume as soon as the government sources funds. And the total cost of the project, the minister indicated to the House that the total cost for this project is 30,600,000, and the time frame, the minister informed the House that initially the project was supposed to run from April 2020 to April 2021. However, this could not be achieved due to a lack of funds. And another question was posed by Milenge Member of Parliament, Mr. Chonde, and he wanted to find out from the Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security when government will construct offices for the Department of Immigration at Kapalala border post in Milenge district. And in response, the minister informed the House that government actually was already in the process of constructing both offices and houses for immigration officers in Milenge district. And after the questions, the House went on to consider a motion that was moved by Member of Parliament, Mr. Fred Chatila, and this was to urge the House to adopt the report of the Planning and Budgeting Committee on the review of the third and fourth quarter performance of the 2022 budget for selected ministries and provinces for the second session of the 13th National Assembly, laid on the table of the House on Friday, 17th March 2023. And this motion was seconded by Mr. Gustav Chonde, Milenge, Member of Parliament. Of course, after debate, the motion has since been adopted by the House. Thereafter, the House went on to consider two bills that were considered in committee, and this was the National Pension Scheme Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 1 of 2023, and also the Rural Electrification Bill, National Assembly Bill number 5 of 2023, which were both considered in committee. And the two bills have gone through the committee stage without any amendment, and the third reading of the bills will be taken tomorrow. So this is some of the matters that were discussed on the floor of the House today. So remember to join us again tomorrow for live parliamentary proceedings. On behalf of everyone else, this has been Pauline Monga wishing you a lovely evening.
I always knew that I was adopted. Wife
Excuse
number
us
8.
for now.
Huh?
Excuse us.
primetime shows are taking over this March. The gloves are off as Anna fights for her life